Get your films on with the Blerds.
Once an idea has taken hold of the brain, it's almost impossible to eradicate.
Unpacking movies has never been more spot on, woke, fire, and just plain lit.
They are lit all the time.
So if you're unsure whether or not to plop down some cash for a film, check out the Blerds.
When a man with a 45 meets a man with a rifle, the man with a pistol is a dead man.
Rondo's got what plants crave.
It's got electrolyte.
You really only need to hang mean bastards. But mean bastards, you need to hang.
Don't say you weren't warned.
Ridiculous.
Here's Brandon and Jeff.
Hello and welcome to episode 127 of the Film Blerds. I'm Jeff Stewart, a.k.a. Uncle Jeffrey, a.k.a. J. Otis Dynamite, a.k.a. Praetorian Jeff, a.k.a. Revengeman Button, a.k.a. He Who Remains, a.k.a. Patty Rockspin, a.k.a. Jobu Tupaki, a.k.a. Little Tom, a.k.a. this motherfucker, to be determined, Black Giovanna Ribisi, Chocolate Tarantino, a.k.a. Ebony Spielberg. And I am joined here, as always, with my friend and co-host.
What's up, you fucking ball bags? My name's Brandon Norwood, a.k.a. Hero Protagonist. It's going back in time and saving the world from evil Russian oligarchs, evil wannabe dictators, and saving battered wives and their children. A.k.a. the true father of Joe, Kanye, and Drake's kids. A.k.a. Poppy Chulo. A.k.a. the Glizzy King. A.k.a. Mr. Krusty. A.k.a. the Lethal Protector. A.k.a. it's Morbin time. A.k.a. Ezekiel Sims. Bad ADR. A.k.a. I want a Subaru Outback with mad strippers in the back giving shape-ups. A.k.a. my biggest pet peeve is sports because I don't like seeing grown men sweat on each other. A.k.a. Rough McGruff. A.k.a. D's Nuts. And A.k.a. B-Wood, the Ma-Deeb. Call me your messiah. First bit of, the only bit of news I really want to talk about, because, again, I can't keep track of news anymore because my brain's mush. Horizon got pulled. So all those motherfuckers who bought the double feature ticket, now they got to get refunded. And you're asking yourself, why is Horizon being pulled? Well, over the course of now 4 weeks, it's only grossed $25 million.
And what was the budget on that again?
$50
million. Well, you know.
100 for both parks.
Look, you saw it. I have no interest in seeing it. And we called it last week, the week before that, if the numbers ain't numbering, the math ain't mathing, part 2 is not gonna go to theaters, right?
It may. Like, they already, y'all, don't embarrass yourself like Tom Cruise. Like, just stick to your guns. Like, at this point, you got no choice but to stick to your guns.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for Kevin Costner.
I don't.
But
I really don't.
But also, like, you flew too close to the sun, right? Like,
it should have just finished up Yellowstone, my nigga.
Right? Like, Kevin Costner, I know you want to be Clint Eastwood, right? But you're not Clint Eastwood.
This motherfucker is going to bankrupt himself trying to make these movies that everybody's just like, I've talked to people who've seen it and they're just like, I don't even know how to properly like review this because it's an incomplete movie and not like a part 1 where we're just like, oh, okay, well, we got some semblance of what the story is.
Right.
Just like somebody came up to me and was like, yo, Brandon, you're absolutely right. Like, the movie ends and the conflict still hasn't even fucking started in earnest yet.
Yeah. No one thought this was going to be good, right? Like, we all had hopes. It's like, all right, maybe Kevin Costner is going to make the next great American Western.
Yeah, because the trailer was, let's be real, it was underwhelming.
Yeah, it was just like a whole bunch of beauty shots. And
it looked like a made for TV Western, honestly.
Right. Like a whole bunch of shots in Montana or Colorado, wherever the fuck they filmed it, and a whole bunch of actors cosplaying as cowboys.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like.
Yeah, I was just like,
because like in the first part, they haven't even gotten to Horizon yet, right?
No,
right.
The people who did get to Horizon got wiped out by the Native Americans. And so the only people that survived went to a Union fort camp where the Union soldiers are taking care of this wife and daughter. And they all fall in love with the wife because she's so beautiful. And the younger soldiers are falling in love with the daughter because she's so beautiful. Even though like the daughter's only like 13, 14.
That sounds like that sounds like a rape brewing.
No, because the movie goes out of their way to show like these are kind-hearted, good people, and I was like, yeah, because they're Union and not Confederate, so like, yeah.
But still,
the rape part is the wagon trail with the British couple, the rich British couple, and the two cowhands who are just like, we're gonna get this, we're gonna get this bitch.
So yeah, all right, and there's no date set for when they're gonna
delayed indefinitely.
That means HBO Max.
Maybe
that 100% means HBO Max.
Maybe I like how when this happened, somebody tweeted out, "You guys always complain about supporting big movies and original movies, and now here's your chance, and y'all blew it." And now the release date for the next one got pushed back. In the summer of sequels, requels, and prequels, this was a breath of fresh air. And I'm just like, my man, is nobody going to tell him like
the movie's
Horizon
not good?
2, also Horizon 2 is a sequel?
Yeah, right. Like so Horizon 2 is a sequel, but also the movie's not good.
Oh,
right?
No.
We can complain forever about a good movie not being successful, right? But by all accounts, has anyone actually liked Horizon besides the one dude who wrote the thing?
I saw it on Letterboxd. I don't follow him on Letterboxd. I just saw Devin Faraci loved it.
Well.
And all these old white people love it, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's an old school Western, like, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm not gonna hate. I'm not gonna hate on anyone for liking it,
right? But like y'all, you could easily watch a nice old school Western that is good,
right? Yeah, actually has a story. I give it 2 weeks before they make an announcement that Kevin Costner is returning to Yellowstone. I swear to God, I give it 2 weeks.
And that's the thing. That's the thing that's crazy is like his career wasn't really anywhere until Yellowstone. Like the only major thing he's done since the last thing he directed, which was Open Range, which I heard was good. People like that movie. Like the last significant thing he did was what's the name of that shit? Man of Steel.
That's right. I kind of forget that he was in Man of Steel because his Pa Kent was kind of fucking nihilistic. Okay?
Yeah.
And sort of like not like the Pa Kent we're used to. So even that's like, all right, well, you know.
Yeah, Pa Kent's like, let them kids die next time.
It's like, but no, Pa Kent, you're supposed to. That's the exact opposite of what you're supposed to say. You're supposed to raise them up.
Well, and some other bit of news I read recently that as Zack Snyder's promoting his director's cut for Rebel Moon, he talked about his dream project, which is notorious. We all know what it is. It's the Fountainhead. Like, he's been wanting to make this movie ever since Sucker Punch. Like, his version of Ayn Rand's The Fountainhead. And I'm like, okay. He said it's probably never going to get made because the one place that greenlights everything that he hands over to him, because he wants to do it as a 7-part miniseries. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like a 7-part miniseries based off of The Fountainhead. Interesting. I don't like the Ayn Rand's politics, but, I'll give it a shot. Like, it's his passion project, 7-part miniseries, and they're just like, no.
Yeah.
They said no. And I was just like, y'all greenlight anything and everything. Like, just let him do his fucking Fountainhead movie, and Zack Snyder said the political climate's to blame because the country needs to move a little more left in order for the project to get greenlit.
A lot of things to unpack there. Okay. Sure. The political climate has to move left, yada, 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 yada. He is not the man to make this 7-part miniseries, right? He does not have the emotional intelligence, the nuance when it of story and directing to make this movie. Yeah, it'll look like a banger. Sure.
I mean, he's been putting Ayn Rand shit in his movies ever since Man of Steel. Like, Man of Steel's whole central focus is like objectivism. You know what I mean? Like, one person is greater than the whole. Like, that shit's been in his movies since that shit.
Yeah, but like, and we saw how that was kind of executed, right? Like, this is something that that's
Superman. Like, he's working on something that he loves dearly, and he'll probably stick to the text as much as possible.
I just don't think he is the person to do this. Because
why? Who the fuck wants to see another version of the Fountainhead? And if we're gonna do it, let this nigga do it, because nobody cares. Like, it's gonna be on Netflix. Like,
but why let him do it? Right? Like, why
could you let him do this other dumb shit? Why not?
They shouldn't let him do that other shit. I'm not saying they should let him do anything.
It's on Netflix. Like, at this point, it don't fucking matter.
I don't want his career to progress any further. And what I'm afraid of, if he makes the Fountainhead, that's a propaganda film, right? Because he doesn't have the emotional intelligence to sort of skirt the line of the politics, right? It is going to be a straight propaganda film, right? If he makes it. And we can't have that, right?
You know what, man? You never know. Because you know what? Francis Ford Coppola is doing Megalopolis that has almost the same exact premise, just much wilder. An architect usurping a revolution. That's the Fountainhead. The Fountainhead's about an architect who starts a social revolution because he wants to build a building, and niggas are like, no.
Yeah. So there's Francis Ford Coppola, and then we got fucking Sucker Punch over here. We got like two different.
They did it before, and people still love the Gary Cooper movie that came out in the 50s.
But you understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he is the man to do this. I don't think he should be doing anything with any sort of overt politics, because his temperament and his weaponization of his fan base could be dangerous.
Yeah, look, I agree with you if this was coming in the theaters. Like, if the Fountainhead was a movie, I'd be like, yeah, I don't know about this, but it's going to be on Netflix. Like, everything now, like, you have to really pop off on Netflix, because almost all their shit now dies at the vine. I honestly think, what does it matter at this point? Like, the internet's going to do what the internet's going to do as far as this motherfucker's concerned. At this point, like, you just got to let him rock. You know what I mean? Because at this point, it's more on the internet than it is on him. Like, we could just let this shit go, and there'd be no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
All right. Well, we'll see. I mean, it's never going to get made, right? Because Netflix won't make it. So,
which is wild to me, because I'm like, yo, y'all greenlit anything and everything.
So like they were finally like, this is not you. This is not your land.
Just let that nigga do it, man. Like,
no. Like,
that nigga was talking. He's been talking about for like 20 years now. Just let him fucking make his little mini series. And honestly, that's what he probably should be doing. It's just miniseries. Like, the only thing that seems to be a film series that he's working on is Army of the Dead. Otherwise, like, Rebel Moon should just be a show.
It shouldn't even be that. Like, we've already got bad Star Wars TV shows, right? We don't need another one made by Zack Snyder.
Yo, the Acolyte, I'll review in next week's episode, the finale, because tonight's the finale.
All right.
And I'm saying, man, the Skeleton Crew, I'm going to give it a chance just because of John Watts. But otherwise, like, I would just be like, all right, I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, I keep hearing people talk about the Acolyte and like, oh, the lightsaber's cool, blah 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 blah. I was like, I don't care enough.
My brother said the perfect thing. He's like, the core mystery, not that cool. And sure, we found out what the core. Well, I'll save it once we get into what we watched lately, because I still got to talk about last week's episode.
Sure, but like I don't care. Like
it's for the listeners, nigga.
No. I'm talking about Star Wars.
Oh yeah. Like, and you know what, man? I was a guest on another podcast, and I was just like, do y'all think Dune is going to like put a fire under Lucasfilm and be like, yo, we gotta step it up? And that dude's like, the dude who runs the podcast just went, no, man, Star Wars, it is amazing, it's great, Andor just came out. I'm like, yeah, man, Andor, and then that's it, because like everything else, like off the top of my dome, I like The Last Jedi, Rogue One, Andor, and parts of The Mandalorian, because I'm not going to say The Mandalorian's completely trash. Like, let's keep it funky. Like, that first season was good. Parts of the second season. Yeah. And there's even parts of season 3 I liked until it became what it became.
Yeah, but besides that, Star Wars hasn't been good. I mean, the live action shit, right? Like, right. I hear like Clone Wars
and the Bad Batch,
and like the Bad Batch. I hear they're great.
Rebels was good, and then I was excited to get live action Rebels because Ahsoka was supposed to be that, and I thought, all right, we're getting an Ahsoka show that's going to be a sequel to Rebels, and instead, it's just Star Wars Rebels season 5, and that was supposed to be a miniseries. And get to the end of it, I'm like, the fuck is this, a miniseries? Oh no, they're getting a second season.
I totally forgot about Ahsoka, right? That was an actual show, right? So this is the thing. It's this flooding of all of this fucking content, right? Let's keep it real. It's content. It's not stories. It's not TV. It's content. It's this flooding of this content because they have to justify all this is the fucking streaming bullshit. It's like, and they're using the idea that like, oh, we're expanding the universe. It's like, no, you're really fucking not. Because if you're expanding the universe like this, then I don't want to be in your universe.
That part, like, anyways, I'll get more into the Acolyte later, but Jeff, what have you watched lately?
What are you watching?
All right, what have I been watching lately? I've actually tried to keep it pretty light over the last week, for mental health reasons, so it's not going to be as extensive as it normally is. We're going to play some cleanup. We're going to start with some stuff I watched 2 weeks ago that I didn't get a chance to talk about. So we are going to start with TV, and we're going to go with an Amazon show Amazon show, quote unquote, because if you know anything, if you hit the right metrics, you fill out the right forms, you can get your shit on Amazon. So, like, yeah, it's called Gravesend, right? And it's a real low budget indie production, but every mobster you've ever seen in any other mob movie is in this. And I'm like, this has a pretty sizable budget for an indie TV show. Because that's the only way they could afford to put some of these names in here, because this thing is bad, right? It is not good, but it's something hypnotizing about it. I love a hey and a gabagoo and a mozzarella. I love that bullshit, right? And this is that, right? So imagine an indie TV show that is somehow more Sopranos than Sopranos, right? Like, as in parody, like like the Anti-Defamation League, or like the Italian American whatever league. When The Sopranos came out, they were like, this makes like Italian American culture look bad when it comes to Sopranos. It's like, nah, son. Gravesend makes Italian American culture look bad. And the writer and director, who is also the star, he must be mobbed up, right? Because that's the only way he could afford to make this thing, right? And get all these people in it and the locations and stuff like that. But do yourself a favor. If you have Amazon Prime, check out Gravesend, because it's absolutely fucking hilarious, unintentionally hilarious, and fucking hypnotizing, right? Like, before I knew it, I ended up watching both seasons, and like, they're short seasons. I think they're like fucking 6 episodes each, and there's only 2 seasons. Pro tip: however they uploaded it to Amazon, it's not season 1 of Gravesend and season 2 of Gravesend, right? Under like the Gravesend banner, you actually have to search for season 2 of Gravesend, because they uploaded it like 2 different entities, which is fucked. I don't know. Yeah. But hey, gabagoo. I give it 5 gabagoos out of 8. I got him cracking up over here. I wish you could see him. That's how I'm gonna start rating shit from now on. Like, take the most offensive stereotype and then rate it whatever out of whatever. Moving on from Gravesend. Sausage Party has a TV show called Foodtopia. I've
been meaning to watch it, and I just haven't gotten around to it.
Like, it dropped on Friday, and I was watching something else. I lost the remote, as I do, and I was like, fuck it, let it ride. I wish I hadn't let it ride. I didn't like the first Sausage Party, right? And I got that it was supposed to be tongue-in-cheek and a whole bunch of puns and shit like that. But to me, it just wasn't all that funny or creative, especially coming from like Adam, from fucking Superbad. I can't even fucking think of his name now. I want to call him Seth.
Michael Cera?
No. Seth
Rogen?
Seth Rogen, yeah. Especially coming from Seth Rogen, because like, when Seth Rogen's on, he's on, right? Sausage Party, Foodtopia, it's more of the fucking same, but like somehow worse. So the premise of Foodtopia is that right after whatever happens in the first Sausage Party, the food starts venturing out into the world, right? And they start fucking killing humans and taking over and shit like that. It's them learning how to navigate in the real world. It's not good at all. I fell asleep during the 3rd episode, but I let it kept rolling, kept going forward, and I didn't think to go back and like say, oh yeah, I missed all the plot points in 3, in episode 3 and 4 and 5, or however many episodes that I missed while I was sleeping. I had no desire to go back and rewatch it. So if you like the first Sausage Party, right? If you like the movie, you may really, really fuck with this show, right? I mean, it's dick and fart humor. It's very, very punny. I needed something more from this. I expected nothing, right? Because I didn't even know this thing existed until Amazon showed me that it existed and kind of face fucked it into my eyeballs. So there we go. That's my review of Foodtopia. Maybe if you get real high and watch it, you'll really, really fuck with it. Or you'll just get pissed off that pickles can't just walk themselves into your mouth. Moving on from that, The Boys continues. I still like it. Still love it. Things are escalating quickly in the world of The Boys. Yeah, that's all I can say without ruining some shit. But yeah, I'm still enjoying this. Moving on from that, House of the Dragon. This right now is the show I wanted it to be during season 1. Right? It's now, like, after the events of the last episode, episode 5 is all of the pieces moving into place during this power vacuum, right? And all the machinations and all the things and all the setups, yada, 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 yada. And even though there's no action in this one, right, per se, because the last episode, that last 20 minutes was a fucking butt cheek clincher. This one is, palace intrigue, the politics of everything like that. But somehow this time, like this season, it's more interesting, I think, because I'm more invested in the players. So I can't wait to see what happens next. But like, all right, Game of Thrones, you won me back. Don't fuck it up. Do not fuck it up.
They will.
Yeah, probably. Moving on from that, we are going to go. I am doing a rewatch of the HBO original show, True Blood. Just because I've been meaning to do it for the longest time. But I just haven't had the time. This weekend I was like, you know what? Let me fucking dive in and see how this holds up. I still really fuck with this show. Right? It's as smart as it can be for a campy, poppy vampire show set in Louisiana. It is more progressive than a lot of shows we even get now, right? I love HBO continuing the tradition of the openly gay character in these shows is the hardest motherfucker walking around that set, right? Like, so we had Omar in The Wire, right? Homo thug, who was the best character on that show, and then we got Lafayette in True Blood, which is like this motherfucker, right? Like,
don't he beat up a trucker in the first season?
He beats up so many motherfuckers. Excuse me. He beats up so many motherfuckers in this show, right? He's a drug dealing, cross-dressing, fucking gangster, right? Fabulous motherfucker. So fucking here's Lafayette. The actor who portrayed him died of a stroke a couple of years ago, which is very sad because I would have loved
Nelson Ellis.
Yeah, Nelson Ellis. I would have liked to have seen what he would do in the future, right? Like, I think I think him and Coleman Domingo would be on the same level.
I feel bad because he left behind a wife and kids.
I didn't even know he was straight.
Yeah.
See, this is how good this dude was. I thought he was just gay.
Nah.
Yeah. So, so it's fucking gory. It's more gory than a lot of these movies we're getting now. A lot of these TV shows. It does not shy away from its campy, poppy roots because it was a book series, and it's fucking fun. It's fun and engaging, and I see why there was like this hype behind it back when it first came out, and I see why it got 7 fucking seasons, because it is a horror version of a soap opera. It's what they tried to do with Hemlock Grove, but they're obviously having more fun with this shit. The characters make dumb decisions and they're annoying. I think Sookie Stackhouse is one of the worst people walking on the earth, along with her best friend Tara. But I get why they are the way they are, right? So a lot of these shows will make their leads, whatever, like that, annoying or whatever, just to do it, but they never explore why, right? And in this show, we get to the ins and the outs. So if you have HBO Max and you haven't seen True Blood, you're in for a treat, especially if you're a horror fan, if you like fucking on screen, and if you like fucking hot sweaty men and big titted women. True Blood.
I remember the first season being pretty good. I thought the second season was decent. The third was okay. And then the fourth one where they brought in the werewolves, I was like, yeah, this is fucking fire. And then werewolves is the third season. The Nazi werewolves. Okay. All right.
That's where I am now. There's Nazi werewolves.
So it was season 5 is where I got off at, because that was the one where they were stuck in that bunker and Stabler was on as like the president of the vampires, and I was like, yo, this season fucking sucks. And it ends with Bill turning into Lilith, and I was like, I'm good.
I definitely, and that's where we're encroaching upon now, is season 4 with the Werepanthers.
Yeah, that's the one.
That's season 4. Like that's where I am right now. Like I'm encroaching on that. And you're right. By the time we got to season 5, it's like I'm in it now. Like I gotta finish watching it.
Yeah, because it went for 7 seasons, but like after season 5, I was just like, ooh, I'm fucking completely good on this shit.
Yeah, but like I know I finished it out, but I wasn't as invested as I was in those first 4 seasons. Yeah. But look, if you have not seen True Blood, fucking do it. And if you have, go ahead and revisit it, because look, it's mindless poppy fun with a lot of blood and a lot of sex.
They came out with a True Blood drink.
Did they? Like a real one? Like energy drink?
Bottled. It was bottled like it came in the red bottle, just like the True Blood in the show. I bought a couple of bottles because that shit was good. It's like a thick orange soda.
Okay.
Like it's thick because it's supposed to be like blood.
Yeah.
But you drink it and it's just like, oh, it's just orange soda.
All right. So
so I guess blood orange soda.
Right. I kind of would fuck with that.
I remember it being delicious, but I also was like, why is this thick? And I was like, oh yeah, wait a minute.
It's supposed to be blood.
It's supposed to be blood. Like, this shit was good.
All right, well, shit. If anyone can find me some fucking True Blood soda.
Oh, that shit is probably not good to drink.
And look, soda's not good to drink in general. I think that shit has a half-life of like 50 years. We'll see. We'll see. All right, so that is TV. Moving on from that, we're going to get into movies. Finally saw The Fall Guy. And unlike Horizon, right? I can say that y'all fucked up by not going to the theaters to see this.
It should have came out now, and then Twister should have came out in early May.
Yeah. This is a summer movie, right? This is a summer movie that they don't make anymore.
I told you.
Right? Like, it's got shades of Romancing the Stone, Jewel of the Nile, which I love. It's about Hollywood, which I love. And it's fucking funny. And the action's there. Right? Everybody looks like they're having a fun time. Right? And it's big. Like you said, I would cut 20 minutes from it.
And there's an extended version, too.
Is there?
Yeah, they're putting out, because it's coming out on 4K Blu-ray in a couple of weeks, and they announced there's going to be an extended version. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Y'all already too long as it is.
Yeah. I mean, like, because I love the characters, and I love what they're doing here. The additional time, like the fact that it ran long, didn't bother me as a fan. It bothered me as, like, a filmmaker and a critic, right? But as a fan of the movies, like, yeah, fuck it. I want to spend as much time with these people as possible.
I will say we could add this to the pile of Ryan Gosling movies that won't get sequels that he wants to make and we all want. So
yeah,
you could add this to The Nice Guys, Blade Runner 2049, fucking, there's one more I'm forgetting. Drive.
Yeah,
because they're going to try and do Drive 2.
So, like, Ryan Gosling is a franchise killer.
Yeah.
Right? And the thing is, he's great in this. He's great in everything. But, like, for some reason, like, anything with any kind of franchise material, like, potential, like, if he is the star, like, it ain't getting a sequel.
Oh, no.
Right? Like, they might do a sequel to Barbie.
Yeah, but
he wasn't
they trying to do it now without Greta, and I was like, oh,
are they?
Yep. I was like, oh, well,
that's dumb. Like, Greta is the reason the movie.
Margot doesn't want to do it. Ryan's just like, maybe.
Yeah, so
like nobody's enthusiastic about it. So I was like, oh well, it's already fighting an uphill battle now.
Just leave it alone. Just like when Greta's ready, after she's done the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe TV show.
Movie.
If she wants to, movie or TV show?
Movie.
Okay.
She's doing 2 Narnia movies.
Okay. When she's done those movies, then we can revisit Barbie. Right? Like,
or just fucking leave it.
Yeah. Don't do cartoons, something like that. I just leave it alone. So the Fall Guy, it's streaming now on one of those things where you got to pay the fucking per movie, which is bullshit. But yeah, y'all fucked up by not seeing this movie. You really did. Moving on from that, I finally watched Paul Schrader's Patty Hearst, 1988 Patty Hearst movie. Because I'm listening to the last podcast on the left, and they just did like a 4-episode series on the Patty Hearst kidnapping, and they referenced this movie a lot. And I was like, all right, let me give it a try. Paul Schrader was on one.
Yeah, that movie's not that good.
It's not good, but it's interesting. Right?
He definitely should not have been the one to make that fucking movie. I'll tell you that much.
Like, I do love how the kidnapping, like her incarceration captivity, it is shot like a weird 70s experimental play. Right? With the harsh backlighting, the Dutch angles, honestly, it felt like if Tim Burton was going to do a Patty Hearst movie. Like, that's the way some of this shit was shot. Yeah, but it's interesting to see. And I think as film fans, you owe it to yourself to watch the movie. If you want to be like, fill in whatever gaps so you can see like a young Ving Rhames who is too good for this movie. You know, and like see a lot of these younger actors, William Forsythe in blackface. That's interesting. This is based on a true story too, right? Like all this shit actually happened. You should give it a watch, but it's not horrible. It's just not very good. And moving on from that, I'm going to close out. I saw Longlegs over the weekend. Fuck this movie. Right? For a lot of different reasons, and probably different reasons than Brandon didn't like it last week.
100%. 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. 100% the hype on this, the marketing team. I wish marketing teams could get awards.
Yeah. Because the trailers were scarier than the fucking movie.
The trailers were scary. Like the trailers sold us a different movie, and the social media, the news articles, and everything like this. The marketing team at Neon, or whoever Neon hired to sell us this fucking movie, like I wish I could afford them to run my life. Right? Because they were able to fucking make magic.
Yeah, this shit grossed $22 million this past weekend.
Yeah.
Which is fucking nuts.
For a horror movie, quote unquote.
From an indie distributor, and it's an indie movie.
In the middle of summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Came in at number 2 at $22 million. Which is wild because Despicable Me 4 made 34. I was just like, yo, nah. I was just like, nah. That's wild.
So like, you like if you adjust your metrics, all right, just so people can understand, right? So this movie making $22 million now is equivalent to it making like $70 million, right? Like it made a ridiculous amount of money for all of the things.
Well, it opened at 150.
Was that?
It opened at 150.
Yeah, but like they put like they had fucking
that was
40,
also anticipated.
Right. That's 40 years. Like that book is 40 years old. The first movie is beloved, right? This was stacked with stars. It's Stephen King. This is from Osgood Perkins, who is the son of Anthony Perkins.
Whatever.
Yeah. So let me get into why I dislike Longlegs. Okay. So on a technical level, this movie is great, right? It's shot really well, right? The sound design and the music is super effective. The acting, even though I do not agree with this hyper stylized sort of almost theatrical way that not theatrical, I should say subdued way that they're acting, right? The characters are portrayed. I don't deal with that, but like whatever, it doesn't feel like it's outside of this world, right? Every one of those things is technically great, right? I should like this movie more based on that shit. But I don't, because this it doesn't have a soul, right? It feels like Osgood Perkins made the movie not because he wanted to tell a story, but because he wanted to prove to the world that he could make a story, that he could make a movie, right?
I guess.
Yeah,
I wouldn't go that far.
Like it just felt like it was trying too hard on all on all things, right? And
the style, because the movie's stylized, and the style got very old very quickly to me.
Yeah,
especially like the exteriors and establishing shots. I'm like, can we just shoot this shit normal now? Like,
to me, it was those low angle singles with the fucking out of focus background, right? Like once, twice, maybe, okay, but then like if that's your own, like that's your go-to single for this whole entire movie, it's like
and it relies too much on jump scares,
which is like, look, it's atmospheric and the jump scares are effective. I'm not saying it's not effective, but this is not a horror movie, right? Would like 2 people die in this whole entire movie?
No, more than that, because they kill a bunch of families, but
but like you only see 2 people get killed, right?
Well, 3.
All right, technically 4, but like it's a flashback if you count the dad and the priest, right? But so this is not about a serial killer, right? Well, it's supposed to be about a serial killer, but you don't see a serial killer going around doing serial killer shit, right? This movie is a suspense thriller. It's not a horror movie, and it's effective, but it's trying too hard, and it's. But I did not really start to hate this movie until we actually introduce Nick Cage, Longlegs, who's only in the movie for 10 minutes. Maybe 10 minutes.
Like the most interesting part, because the whole movie's building up to this person. You get to him, and then immediately he's taken away. And I'm just like, okay. And there's still 30 minutes left after he exits the picture.
And I want to see the movie that Nick Cage is acting in with this performance, right? Because that is an infinitely more interesting and better movie than the one he's acting in now. It's like he's acting in a different fucking movie than everybody else. And it's pure Nick Cage, 100%. Nick Cage doing Nick Cage shit. I don't think the makeup is good.
I do. See, that's where we disagree. I like all that shit.
Yeah, I mean, like, I get what they were trying to do with it, but they made it so extreme that it was comical. I think they should have gone more with how they did Charlize Theron and Monster with Eileen Wuornos, right? A little bit more subtle would have been much more effective, because but whatever. That's the least of this movie's problems. And then we get to the reveal, the fucking twist, whatever you want to call it. And I wanted to throw shit at the screen, right? It's the whole entire last act pretty much is an info dump.
It's very unsatisfying. I'll be real with you.
At all. Like, and spoiler alert, the real killer is the devil, which is this is the most convoluted possession movie I've ever fucking seen. It really is. Like, if this is the devil, like, the devil's stupid, right? Like, the devil I know, he don't got to go through all this kind of work to fucking start killing people.
He'll just possess you.
Right. It seems like a lot of fucking work for what this fucking payoff is, but whatever, right? Yeah. So that last act, it became a comedy for me, right? It's unsatisfying, it's pretentious, and this is not fucking scary. It's unsettling, it's unnerving, and you will be scared by the jump scares. But like, this is not a horror movie, and it's not a wholly original thriller, right? Because you've seen this movie done better. It's literally like they took It follows 7, like a whole bunch of other
Silence
films.
of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs. And they put it in the
throw
blender.
Rosemary Baby in there.
Yeah, why not? Throw Rosemary's Baby in there. Fucking, I'll even put fucking, was a Dollmaster in there. Why the fuck not? Yeah. Throw that all in the blender, and that's this. Right? Yeah, so like I said, fuck this movie, but congratulations to the marketing department. You all deserve bonuses.
Good job for Neon, because y'all definitely need some money.
Right. You know, like this is a Wish.com A24 horror movie. Right? That's what this feels like. It's like the A24, it's like the Wish.com version of an A24 horror movie. But fucking Nick Cage, I love Nick Cage. Nick Cajun. I just want to see the movie that he thought he was acting in.
Yeah,
so
Pig, this is not.
Right. So what have you been watching lately?
Yo, first I want to, before I dive into TV, I want to give a shout out to James Blake. I love James Blake. He put out a song a couple of months ago in June called Thrown Around. I fuck with it heavily. And then 2 weeks later, he puts out a collab album with Lil Yachty. First listen, I was like, oh, it's all right. It's all right. Then started listening to it more and more again. And I was like, yeah, I fuck with it. Fuck with this pretty fucking hard.
Yeah, I mean, like it showed up on my my Apple Music feed a couple of weeks ago, and look, that second Yachty album, it turned me around because I didn't.
Oh, that's his fourth.
That's his fourth.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, but
the progress. So, for those of you who don't know, in January of 2023, Lil Yachty dropped a progressive rock album, and everybody's like, "Brandon, you would love it." And I was like, "Hey, yeah, I'll get to it." It wasn't until like I want to say May this year where I was just like, I got bored, and I was like, "All right." While I was walking through New York, I put it on, and I was like, "Oh, this shit is dope. This shit is like." Basically Dark Side of the Moon. Like it's Dark Side of the Moon. Like, let's just be real. I would say not as good, obviously, as Dark Side of the Moon, because nothing will ever be as good as Dark Side of the Moon, but it is Dark Side of the Moon, because I've listened to that album too many times.
Yes.
So yeah, Lil Yachty's album I fuck with, and like this one, it plays to his strengths, but I also like, that's the problem of him doing a collab album with such a strong artist as James Blake, because every time James Blake comes on, you're just like, oh yeah, like you Lil Yachty always has to go first on the tracks, just because James Blake is just so much a better artist all around than Lil Yachty, and that's no disrespect to Lil Yachty, but like Lil Yachty sings, and I don't really care about Lil Yachty singing. It works for what he's doing, but James Blake is a singer, and when he starts singing, you're just like, yeah. I mean, I dug this last album, but you could definitely feel that Lil Yachty was trying to play catch up, right? I'll be real. I like playing Robots in the Heaven, which came out last September, which is James Blake's last album. I really do like that album, but I fuck with this. I fuck with his new single Thrown Around and this Lil Yachty Bad Cameo is what it's called album a little more. All right. Moving into TV, let's start with ACOLYTE episode 7. I gotta agree with my brother. Like, this whole show hinges on the mystery, and so far, like, there's really nothing to the mystery. So, like, the mystery is basically now boils down to what is Manny Jenko's motivation, other than he wants an acolyte, a follower. What is his whole backstory? And we still don't know. Episode 7's a flashback episode, so it finally reveals what happened between the Coven of Space Witches and the Jedi. I like this episode just because it shows you, like, yo, the Jedi are not good people. Like, they all have their own self-interest as well. But I don't think it's strongly written. That's my only problem. Ends with a pop song, which is weird. I was just like, real weird. just to have a pop song play over the credits. I was just like, took me out, honestly. And I have nothing against the song itself. It's a fine song. It's just weird to drop that in this late in the game.
Has Star Wars ever done that?
No.
Before?
It's always been orchestral music.
Yeah, It
like if they'd done that at the end of episode 1, I'd be like, oh, they're really forging their own path with this show. But just to do this at the end of episode 7. Look, this finale has a lot of heavy lifting to do. Like, I hope it gives us some backstory for Manny Jacinto's character. I'm glad everybody's enjoying The Acolyte. Really, I am. But this is just, I think I've grown past Star Wars now, to be quite honest with you. Like, it just has nothing left to offer me.
Yeah, I mean, it's between the lazy writing and storytelling and the fucking ravenously toxic fan base. I honestly feel that Star Wars isn't for me anymore. Right?
Yeah, man. I really came around to earlier this year when I was a guest on that other podcast. I was just like, man, I'm talking to somebody who's older than me. And if this is their mindset about Star Wars, where they're just immediately like, no, they don't got to change, man. They're putting out. And I'm just like, all right, I'm good on this shit, man.
Yeah, I mean, like the thing about Star Wars, growing up as a kid, it felt inclusive, right? It felt that anybody could be a Jedi. Anyone was kind of welcome in this world. And I felt that's like what a lot of people felt, men, women, transgender, non-conforming, black, white, Asian, whatever, like XYZ. Like we could all fucking find a place in Star Wars. Now, because of like these fucking 50-year-old man children gatekeeping this thing, and the toxic fan base, it just feels like it's for stunted white men, right? It doesn't. But feel like
what, man? There's a girl we both know who's significantly younger than us. She's in her 20s, and she's another one. She loves everything Star Wars, and I'm just like, y'all are just cool with people just doing anything. That's the problem. Right. Is like, as long as they're getting their Star Wars fix, they don't give a fuck.
Just give them a lightsaber. Is that all it takes?
I mean, I ain't gonna hold you. Like, the lightsaber fights in this show are fucking hard as fuck, especially in episode 7 where the Wookiee gets possessed by the space witches and goes berserk. That shit was hard. But otherwise, like, outside the lightsaber fights, it's just like... No, and the like kung fu, like the kung fu in this show is dope too. But like other than that, it's just like, well, there's nothing much to it.
But yeah, that's the thing. People are like the fan base is literally just give me some sort of spectacle, put a lightsaber in the motherfucker's hands, give me a pew 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 sound, and they're good. And don't put any minorities in it, and they're good.
Look, Obi-Wan, I didn't fuck with. I ain't fuck with Ahsoka. I tried to get in the Clone Wars, but that, to me, is strictly for diehard fans and especially children.
Right.
More so children. That's why I had a hard time watching it, because it's for fucking children. And then the only other thing I liked is Rebels. Like, Rebels really was amazing. And then parts of The Mandalorian. Like, I like the first season. I like parts of season 2, and I like parts of season 3, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, like, fuck Boba, the Book of Boba Fett. Fuck that show.
I think The Rise of Skywalker did more damage, honestly. Like, that just killed a lot of goodwill, and that's even for people who hate The Last Jedi. Like, the only people I know who like The Rise of Skywalker are 50-year-old white men. Otherwise, everybody else, people who even hated The Last Jedi, is like, yeah, fuck that movie. Rise of Skywalker fucking blows.
Right, because like you build up over the first 2 movies and in the sequel trilogy, right? That it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from. Anybody could be a Jedi, right? Anybody could use the Force, right? Like, Rey was just some chick Wrong place, wrong time, right place, right time, whatever you want to call it. And then by the third movie, you retcon all that. It's like, oh yeah, it totally matters who you are.
It makes me feel some type of way that fucking JJ is mad at Ryan for killing off Phasma. And I'm like, she's just a stormtrooper except in chrome.
Right. Like,
it doesn't fucking matter.
Because Captain Phasma did absolutely nothing. Right.
And at least it gave, like, the only thing I can say about Phasma is, like, at least Finn had an antagonist to fight. At least Ryan did him that small favor.
Yeah, like there was some closure for that character that, like, JJ, you fucked us. You fucked us with Finn.
And John's stupid too. Like, don't get it wrong. Like, I love John Boyega, but he's also a dumb fuck because he was poo-pooing on The Last Jedi, and then he was like, "Oh, I can't wait for everybody to see Rise of Skywalker. I get so many cool fights." I'm like, "Yeah, nigga, that's you just as dumb as everybody else. You just want to look cool."
Right.
Fuck a character.
Fuck the fact that you were supposed to be a Jedi. Right? Like this was supposed to be, you were supposed to share the screen with Daisy Ridley.
One of the most egregious bait and switches ever they've done in film, where JJ comes out, he's like, yeah, this is your new star of Star Wars. He's front and center in the marketing. Like 4 months before the movie comes out, they start heavily promoting him with the lightsaber, fighting Kylo Ren head on, fighting stormtroopers. I was like, oh, this is going to be a dope arc. So he's going to go from being a stormtrooper to being a Jedi.
Yeah.
And he goes from being a stormtrooper to being a sidekick.
Right. And not even like a really good sidekick.
Nah, that nigga was just there.
Right.
Like, Poe was more of a sidekick than he was.
Yeah.
Still don't know what he was going to tell Rey. Rey, I have something real important to tell you.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, that was when the quicksand.
Yeah.
When they thought they were gonna die.
I know you're telling me things. I can't remember that shit because I have only seen. Is this from Rise of Skywalker?
Yes.
I've only seen Rise of Skywalker once in theaters because I had to. That's it.
No, you watched it again because we did a ill-advised cinema on this show.
Did we? All right, so twice. I've seen it twice. I can't remember a goddamn thing beyond the fact that fucking all of the dumb ass holes that they left in this fucking movie to justify everything like that. The fact that the Emperor was building an entire armada unbeknownst to everybody. Like, and there was
final order. The first order just skips ahead. So the Empire skips from being the Galactic Empire to the First Order to the Final Order.
Right, but okay, so this is huge ass space armada that's being built. No one knows about it, right? Like, there was no leaks, no nothing. They're just like, oh, by the way, we got this, got all these Star Destroyers.
Also, right? JJ's a fucking asshole because he said the reason why he brought Palpatine back was because Palpatine was the main antagonist in the first 6 movies from episode 1 to episode 6. So he's like, it made sense to bring him back to make him the big bad for this new series too. I'm like, no, big bad was fucking Kylo Ren. That's your through line is Kylo Ren. He is technically a Skywalker.
Yeah.
He is Luke's nephew. He is Leia's son. Like, there's your Skywalker right fucking there. That's your fucking through line. Fuck you.
Right. So yeah, definitely. A better movie is at the end, Kylo Ren ascends the throne as the new Galactic Emperor.
Well, what you mean? What they did at the end of The Last Jedi? Because that's literally how The Last Jedi ends?
Yeah. Because they had already set this shit up.
I don't think it would have been a great movie, but Colin Trevorrow, I read that script. And while I don't like what he did with some of the character choices in there, it makes sense from a logical choice. The story, it makes sense on action beats in there. Like everything just makes sense. Like I think we'd all still be like, whew, that wasn't as strong as it could have been, but it wouldn't not have been
what we got.
That. Yes, at least you can see where and why he picks up from. It's a logical continuation from The Last Jedi. It's just choices made in that where I'm just like, you're doing too much and it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But that's Colin Trevorrow.
Look, Star Wars. I'm done. Like I can't if it's not Andor.
And now Kathleen Kennedy, not to cut you off, but now Kathleen Kennedy looks fucking stupid. She fired him because of the book of I forget what that fucking movie's called.
The fired who?
Colin Trevorrow. Because it was that movie he did,
the Christian one or whatever.
It had Naomi Watts and Jacob Tremblay. The Book of Eli. No, that's
right.
Denzel. But you know what I'm talking about. It's
yeah,
I know.
But I thought that was a religious movie for some reason.
No, it's not. That movie fucking sucks. It's a piece of shit. Like I'm not even gonna hold you. Like that movie's terrible.
Right.
But you fired him over that movie, and yet he follows that movie up with the third Jurassic World. And despite us hating that movie did make over $1 billion. Yeah. So, like, you look stupid in hindsight. And honestly, as a trilogy capper, that's fucking better than Rise of Skywalker.
Right. Because Rise of Skywalker doesn't even feel like... It doesn't feel like a complete movie. But
and it doesn't feel like an ending.
Right. It doesn't feel like an ending. It doesn't feel like it fits in this new trilogy. And honestly... I am fucking sick of Skywalkers, right?
Who would have thought Giant Locust would be more satisfying than fucking Rey revealed to be the Emperor's granddaughter? All right.
Yeah. Like, I'm fucking done with this.
Well, let's move on.
Let's move on.
Because we're spending too much time. I want to get through this. My Adventures with Superman. Amazing. Another fucking fire episode. I'm excited for the finale this Sunday. I'm sorry. I'm just real quick. I got an email from Universal. They sent us the trailer for The Killer. I forgot John Woo was remaking The Killer.
Oh, yeah. I read about that.
So John Woo's The Killer is coming out August 23rd exclusively on Peacock, starring Natalie Emmanuel and Omar Sy.
Cool.
It's on Peacock, so whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, My Adventures with Superman, man, yeah, like, if James Gunn's movie sucks, well, that's it. It's sad because then I think Superman's just done as far as live action's concerned, so that sucks. But that also kills the DCU, which would also suck. Also, that's what we forgot to talk about in news. There's no point in having streaming anymore just because now fucking they announced The Penguin and Dune are going to be HBO shows and I was like, y'all created these specifically for Max. Same thing they just announced too, Lanterns. Lanterns will also be a HBO show because they read the scripts and they're just like, oh yeah, this is too good to just put up on Max.
But here's the fucking thing though. If you have regular HBO, right, you get Max for free. Right? So like, what's the point of just putting it on HBO?
I'll be real, just cancel the subscription service. Like if you pay for it. And also because we live in heavily populated areas, right, near cities, we keep forgetting there's a whole portion of the country, in the heart of the country, in like 6 states that don't have high-speed internet. So when they hear about streaming shows, they're like, the fuck are you talking about?
Fair.
You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. I mean, there's another reason why a lot of this shit is coming to Blu-ray and DVD, to give people in the heartland, to join the conversation.
Yeah, but how are we going to hear the conversation since they don't have high-speed internet?
They got dial-up. Anyways, My Adventures with Superman. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad it got a season 3. I'm really interested to see how they're going to defeat Brainiac and this last episode. Amanda Waller's a piece of shit, and I hope she dies in season 3.
Now, who's the voice of Amanda Waller on My Adventures with Superman?
No idea.
Okay.
You can Google that if you want to.
No, I didn't know if it was Viola as well.
She needs to die.
Well, okay. Well, I mean, she's always been a bad person.
Everything they wanted to do with Lex Luthor and Batman versus Superman, they're doing here and doing it well. I was like, I was like, damn, man, this shit is doing the Zack Snyder DC universe, or DC extended universe as it was called, better than he did. It's a fucking kid show. So, moving on, I rewatched the entire season of X-Men 97 just because I wanted to give that a second shot. And yeah, I like it more the second time around. Very fucking good. Like, this shit is amazing. Amazing.
Yeah. Do we have any word on if it's going to be renewed?
They just announced they hired a new writer for season 3.
Okay.
I do think they rushed through a lot of stuff a little too quickly, but damn, bro, like it really is like this show. Look, it does. They took influences from anime and added into the show on top of the soap opera shit and the tone that they established in the first season. And they made it look like it was shot on film, like the old episode. So I appreciate that. They added film grain to the shit. So, also, like, yo, listen, if you manage to make Jubilee cool, I'm like, yo, watching this show, I was like, damn, we've just been wasting all these motherfuckers in these movies, man. Like, Jean Grey does crazy shit. Beast does crazy shit. Fucking Jubilee levels up to now she does fucking pinwheels with her fireworks that are cutting shit in half.
Really? I gotta finish 97. I really do.
Because as a whole, this shit is, great. Going to movies, and I'm gonna start with Men in Black 3 because I rewatched Men in Black 1. And yeah, man, Men in Black 3, it is a solid, entertaining movie. Like, this is a good movie to take the franchise out on. Time travel shit is crazy. I like that. I haven't seen this in a minute, so like watching it again, I was like, oh yeah, he does have to travel back in time, because once the plot really kicks in, because it takes a minute for the plot to kick in, because you're just enjoying it as another Men in Black adventure where it's just K and J doing what they're working as a team now, finally, where them two are. There comes a point, there's a shootout in a Chinese restaurant, and Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith, they literally reach over each other's back to save each other and shoot people behind them. And then there comes a point where Tommy Lee Jones pushes Will Smith down on his shoulder, like pushes his shoulder down and shoots a dude right over his shoulder. I'm like, damn, bro, see, they finally a team. And then you know, you get to the time travel shit with a more optimistic K played by Josh Brolin. Like, honestly, the only weak part in this is the villain, Boris the Animal, with Jermaine Clement. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Jermaine Clement is kind of overrated in general, but yeah.
I could easily watch this again. It's just a fun, breezy movie. Like, let's be real. It's entertaining. The first one is great and is a masterpiece and still holds up. And this one, you're just like, yeah, it's a fun romp. I forgot that I went to the press screening for this, and this was also one of the few movies to see in 3D, because the 3D is crazy. Moving on, Criterion has a whole neo-noir channel. So I started with 1990s Blue Steel, directed by Catherine Bigelow, starring Jamie Lee Curtis. Well-made garbage. Like, truly well-made garbage. Like, this is Amir Koi is the cinematographer. He shot Man of Steel, which is a great looking movie. He shot a lot of movies where I'm like, oh, those are great looking movies. And that continues here. This is a good looking movie. And Catherine Bigelow has always been a strong director, but this movie fucking sucks. Like, she wrote it, and it feels like it's written by a dude in the 90s. Like, almost every dude written in this movie might as well be coming up to Jamie Lee Curtis and going, hey, bitch, why are you a fucking cop?
Yeah, I was about to say, this is the one where she's the rookie police officer.
The trigger happy cop.
Yeah.
Who ends up dealing with that psycho dude who becomes a stalker.
Yeah.
This movie's terrible. Like, I'm not gonna even hold you. It's terrible. It gets more and more implausible by every passing minute. Because after a while, the cops would just be like, wait, let's investigate this nigga. Let's have somebody follow him. It is incredible. Like, also, like, the fact that she got suspended for shooting the shoplifter. Like, couldn't they could not figure out that somebody obviously took the gun? Like, they're like, no weapon was found at the scene. I'm like, all right, the cash register said he had a weapon pointed at him and wasn't sure if it was a knife or a gun. Other people also saw a weapon and were on the ground. At a certain point, you just give her the green light. They're like, well, if everybody's saying homie had a weapon, like, I get it, excessive use of deadly force because she unloaded her whole revolver, but like, I don't know, they, like, come on, like, my man's, I was like, y'all couldn't even do a toxology test because that dude was clearly a junkie. So it's Tom Sizemore basically plays a junkie robbing a fucking grocery store, and she lights him up because he decides, instead of dropping the gun, he decides to point the pistol at her, and of course she's gonna shoot. This whole movie's just fucking implausible. I'm like, maybe, because there's too many eyewitnesses, and if everybody saw a weapon at a certain point, people get shot nowadays by the police for less and get off.
Right.
Like, people, motherfucker pulled out his wallet in the Bronx and got lit up 40 times. And the worst that happened is they all got fired from the force. Not sent to prison.
Yeah, this sounds like wonderful trash. How are the performances, though? How is, like, Jamie Lee? Like, this is the one where she got that pixie haircut, right?
Yeah, and everybody's like, you're so hot. Why are you a cop, bitch?
That's usually how you approach women. Is like, oh, you too hot to have a real job, bitch.
And I'm just like, damn, I'm like, Catherine Bigelow. This is like...
Look, even Catherine Bigelow, like, she had to... Sometimes you gotta do some trash, baby. Sometimes you gotta do trash.
I'm like, yo, you're a woman, and this is what you want to write? It's like, all right.
Yeah, but no, like, sometimes you can't do progressive fucking cinema in the 90s.
Let's move on, because we're running real over. 1976, also in neo-noir. I've never seen this. I love Brian De Palma. I was like, fuck, how did I not seen this movie? 1976, Obsession. Gotta say, this is the most fucked up happy ending I've ever seen in a movie. I don't want to say too much, just because if I say too much, y'all are not going to want to watch it, because it dances in some territory where I'm just like, oh, y'all barely skirted by that, huh? Uh-huh. Barely skirted by that. And they're actually going to do it until the screenwriter, the actor, and the producers all sat Brian De Palma down. It's just like, yeah, this can't happen, bro. So just make it a dream sequence. Make it that he's dreaming, because if this happens and we stick with this ending, this is disgusting. And I'm just like, okay, I'm glad people had sense, because this comes very close to a very widely praised Korean movie that people love from a very famous director, where I'm just like, me personally, I think the movie's overrated, and a lot of the dude's movies are overrated. And I'm just like, it would have had the same fucking reveal had it been, because that movie is extremely transgressive, but I'm like, that movie also really doesn't have anything to say to go with its transgressiveness. That movie fucking overrated. You're gonna have to tell me, like, offline what this movie is, because I don't. Yeah, it's famous South Korean director, famous movie from South Korea, one of the most overhyped movies ever made. It's a disgusting movie.
I mean, the only thing that comes to mind is Ichi the Killer, but that's not Korean.
No, that's Japanese.
Right.
Same with Audition, that's Japanese. This is basically, like, De Palma even said, he's like, yeah, I just wanted to make my own version of Vertigo. And I was like, you know what? I like this better than Vertigo. I think Vertigo's overrated. I've seen Vertigo twice. I saw it on TCM, and then me and my brother, we got free passes to go see it in the downtown downtown Brooklyn Draft House to see it in 70 millimeter. And after watching it, I was like, yeah, I still don't fuck with this movie. And my brother's like, yeah, I don't fuck with it either. Like, Vertigo's overrated. Sorry.
I haven't seen Vertigo in such a long time, so I can't even.
I wanted to watch another neo-noir, but like after wallowing in filth and despair, I was like, let me take a break. And I decided to watch a different movie about filth and despair in a totally different reasons, because this movie's not fucking good. On Peacock, streaming in Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. I can't believe they upgraded their streaming service. I was like, all right, y'all leveled up. On Peacock, Back to Black is now streaming on there, and this movie fucking sucks. This movie sucks real bad.
I mean, there was no illusions.
It's very clear that Sam Taylor Johnson, the director, she was only interested in the Grammy performance, because that's the only part of this movie that is well directed. Otherwise, this is just your standard run-of-the-mill biopic with wrong information, making bad people look good, villainizing bad people further. And I'm just like, yeah, we all know this dude was an asshole. Like, we saw their relationship in real time. Like, I got nothing new out of this. And the fact they decide to focus on the love story between those two, I was like, but why? We already knew this. Brings nothing new to the fucking table. And it hits every fucking biopic stereotype. Like, sure, Bob Marley, in retrospect, I gave it a positive review. I'll say this right now. I watched it again. Not a good movie. But at least it was entertaining. Like, that is your standard biopic, but it's a standard biopic done well because it's entertaining. This shit ain't even entertaining.
This is why I hate musical biopics, right? This is why when I only listen to Disgraceland when I want to hear about the backstory.
All right, we're going to keep it moving. The very next day, I woke up and I was like, before I start my daily walk, let me watch one more neo-noir. And I watched 1975's Arthur Penn, a very good director, Night Moves, starring Gene Hackman. This movie fucking rules. Now, this is a noir. This is what I want from a modern noir. Amazing fucking film. The less you know, the better. It's only 99 minutes. Go in, watch it. This fucking shit rules. Night Moves on the Criterion channel. I'm going to try to get through all of the neo-noir channel, because a lot of them I've seen. Like The Man Who Wasn't There is up on there. The Last Seduction. People love that movie, and I'm like, that movie's all right. There's a lot of shit on there I've seen already. Like Blood Simple's up on there.
I always thought Blood Simple kind of overrated.
I like Blood Simple. But The Man Who Wasn't There is a better noir. But I mean, that's all the Coen brothers made. Like, you could Raising Arizona is a screwball comedy that could also be a noir. Right. Barton Fink, about the screenwriter in the hotel, that could also be a noir. Miller's Crossing, that is 100% a noir. Fargo is
definitely 100% noir.
Yeah, Noir in the Snow. Like, they've been making noirs their whole career. Moving on, I rewatched Inside Out 2 in 3D. The 3D was better. The picture quality was better. And there was nobody else in the fucking theater, so I got to enjoy myself.
All right, good.
It was nice being alone in the theater, just hitting my vape, zoning out, drinking the Sprite Chill Icy.
I don't like hanging out. The Sprite Chill Icy is amazing, by the way. I don't like I don't like other people in the theater with me.
No, man, it's nice. It's nice to be in the nicest theater in the city and watching a movie and there's nobody to bother you.
Right? There's no teenagers talking, because that was my problem with Long Legs. Teenagers.
There's no asshole in front of you where you tell him to put your phone away. He wants to punch you in the face and grabs you by the shirt. And I was like, oh, no, we're not having this. Yeah. None of that shit. All right. I'm going to go into the last thing I want to talk about, which is I watched this twice, back to back. 1996 masterpiece by Jan de Bont, his last good fucking movie. Twister, the OG. This movie still fucking rules. We used to make proper big budget blockbusters. Like, we need to put niggas in danger again. I want to see people on the edge of death. That's what this movie is. Also, this movie had a very torturous production. First off, Jan de Bont signed on, and he's like, cool, all right, yeah, I'll make this. I'll make it if I can shoot it in Oklahoma. And the studio and the producers include Spielberg, because his company produced it, and he was going to direct it for a minute. And you could tell he was going to direct it for a minute, because this does feel like a Spielberg movie. By the way, screenplay by Michael Crichton and his wife.
Oh, I had no idea Michael Crichton wrote it.
Yep, yeah. With his wife.
Okay.
I was like, listen, this is a perfect storm of a movie. No pun intended. Y'all had all the ingredients and it came together. Yeah, so Jan, they're like, Jan was like, yeah, I want to make it. And Jan was just like, okay. He was just like, if I'm going to make this, we got to shoot this in Oklahoma. And they're just like, no, you could shoot it on backlot. So he's like, all right, well, I'm good then. And they're like, all right, you could shoot in Oklahoma. Original directors to make this: James Cameron, John Badham, Tim Burton, and Robert Zemeckis. And I'm like, the only people who probably would come close would be Cameron. Cameron's movie would be completely different, but Zemeckis would definitely make a movie not exactly like this, but definitely like close to what we got. Jan de Bont, he left this because he was originally going to do Godzilla with Matthew Broderick, and that shit fell through. And I was like, damn, nigga, you dodged a huge bullet.
I still I know it's not a good movie. I know in my heart of hearts that the Godzilla with Matthew Broderick is a flaming piece of shit, but somehow I just really enjoy it.
Yo, listen, the Wallflowers gave us a dope version of the David Bowie song Heroes for that movie. Got the Godzilla remix of Brain Stew from Green Day. Got a dope Jamiroquai song, I'm Going Deeper Underground. Rage Against the Machine gave Godzilla one of their hardest songs with No Shelter. What else was on that soundtrack?
I do. That's the thing I miss about 90s. We were talking about this last night. Fucking soundtracks.
The biggest song off this soundtrack, though, is Diddy doing his version of Kashmir.
Yeah.
A song that you listen to now, you're just like, wow, man, we did a lot for back then. Kashmir is an amazing song, and then you're just like, why the fuck would Diddy remake Kashmir? And then to have Jimmy Page come back and play the same exact guitar riffs on the new one, I'm like, dog, why, Jimmy?
I kind of want to. I'm gonna go listen to that Godzilla soundtrack after we're done. I forgot how good it was.
So Jan de Bont was invited by Spielberg to do this because Speed was a runaway hit. And also, Jan de Bont, for those of you who don't know, was a DP before he became a director. And he was a DP on some really good looking movies. Like, the dude knows how to make a good looking big budget movie. He saw this movie as a grim fairy tale where the monster comes out of dark clouds. Michael Crichton and his wife got paid $3 million to write this shit. Which which back then is a lot of money to be giving screenwriters. But this is peak Michael Crichton, because this is after Jurassic Park. And this is after ER. So, like, this nigga is, like, running Hollywood.
Right.
So anything with his name on it, everybody's just like, adapted. That's why we got Disclosure, a movie that is all types of terrible for many different reasons.
I forgot about Disclosure.
Yeah, everything Michael Crichton was being taken. Crichton said him and his wife based this script off of two things. Him and his wife watched a PBS documentary about storm chasers, and then they wanted to do a romantic comedy in the vein of His Girl Friday. And I was just like, oh, yeah, that's why this shit works.
Okay.
I was like, that's why this shit works.
Okay. Yeah.
So, first off, Helen Hunt was Jan de Bont's, first choice to play Joe. And she was just like, why the fuck would I do this movie? I'm not this type of actress. I'm on a sitcom. I'm
Right.
like on one of the biggest sitcoms in the world. Like, if I'm going to do a movie, it's going to be like some hard hitting drama or I'm going to do a comedy. She's like, I don't do this shit. And so fucking Spielberg got on the phone and was like, yeah, so how about you come to my house and we'll have lunch? And I was telling you this last night. I was like, damn, Spielberg had to have people come to his house for lunch or fly to people's houses for lunch to convince him to do the movies he was producing. Because Men in Black, Will Smith said like no 5 times. And what's his face? Spielberg flew to Philly, met with Will Smith, and the first thing he said to Will was like, why don't you want to do my movie? And I remember watching an interview with Will Smith, and Will was like, how do you answer Spielberg when he's looking at you disappointed saying, why don't you want to do my movie? And I had to explain to him like, yo, I just did Independence Day. I can't do another Alien movie back to back. And he's like, these are 2 different movies, baby. He's like, have lunch with me. I was like, damn, Spielberg must got that golden tongue. He's like, whenever he says, have lunch with me, whatever he wants to do, you're going to end up doing it.
Spielberg is the cinematic version of The Godfather. Is like the cinema version of The Godfather. He's like, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor.
Spielberg, Tom Hanks actually did audition for Bill Paxton's part as Bill. And Tom Hanks, he was just like, man, I don't know if I should be doing this. So he's like, I'm going to pass. And Steven, he was just like, I get it. You're a big actor. You're busy. Jan, who do you think? And Jan's like, I want Bill Paxton. That's who I want. And they're like, all right. So they got Bill Paxton, and then they started studying with Storm Chasers in Oklahoma. This is when the production went off the rails. This is when it went into production. First off, right before they started shooting, they got Josh Whedon to rewrite the script. He rewrote it, and then he contracted bronchitis, and then he was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go get married, and he married his wife. Then they brought on Steven Zalen, a very respected film writer. Like, he's on the Mount Rushmore screenwriters up there with Eric Roth. What's the dude who just died that we talked about last, who wrote Chinatown?
Robert Towne. Robert Towne.
Like, he's up there. He's up there. He did some revisions, and then they brought in Jay Nathanson to do some revisions. Among the changes, Helen Hunt was just like, Joe and Melissa are catty to each other in a very misogynistic way. Can we fucking change this shit? And Jan was like, yeah, absolutely, because who gives a shit? Like, nobody's here to see 2 women fight. We're not making that type of movie. I was like, yeah, because we don't want to see that shit. That shit's stupid.
Jan's worried about
especially them fighting over a man. Right. So also they had to shut down production. Helen Hunt also told them, Jan Bachter and Spielberg and Frank Marshall and what's her face, Kathleen Kennedy, were like, are you sure you guys want to change this? And Helen Hunt had to tell all 3 of them, this is not going to be fun to play or for the audience to watch. I'm not even sure if I want to do that in a fucking movie, to be honest with you. And they're like, yeah, we get it. Filming had to be shut down because of the Oklahoma City bombing. I remember that as a kid. Like, I remember seeing that building being decimated by Timothy McVeigh. I remember that shit.
Yeah, I was on a family vacation, actually.
Yeah, dog. I remember walking in the room and seeing the news and just seeing like the whole side of that building just gone. I was just like, yo. So once they got back to shooting, they wanted to go back to their original plan of shooting in the UK and California. And Jan was like, no, we're shooting in Oklahoma. The fuck, man? He's like, he had to sit Spielberg down and be like, Steve, this could be the last great action movie that is not shot entirely on a fucking soundstage. And he's like, yeah, you're right. So they shot in Oklahoma, and this is where shit really went off the rails. So first and foremost, Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt were halfway through shooting, were temporarily blinded by electronic lamps that made the sky behind the 2 actors look dark and stormy. And instead of calling striking, they just turned them shits on. And Paxton said, I remember these things. They were literally sunballs, and they burned our eyes out. I got back to my hotel room, and I couldn't see shit. So for 2 days, they were blind. And to solve the problem, they had to wear plexi filter glasses and have eye drops put in. So they couldn't see for 3 days. So they had to shoot around them, the 2 stars of the movie, for 3 days. The 2 stars who are in almost every fucking scene of the movie.
The 90s were different, man. The 90s were different.
There's a trench where they chased the first tornado in that's partially filled with water, and they crash into a bridge. That's what's also wild, is they crash a real fucking truck into a real fucking bridge. And mind you, that bridge is small and it's a wooden bridge, but they still crash that shit.
Right.
And they have to hop out in this dirty ass trench and hide under the bridge as the twister passes over them. Well, apparently that trench was unsanitary and had a lot of filth in there. So after they were done filming, both Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton needed hepatitis shots.
God damn.
During the same sequence, Helen Hunt repeatedly hit her head on the bridge standing up because she was so exhausted. She just wanted to stand up and get to somewhere where she could sit down, and she kept hitting her head.
Yeah, and I get it. You're standing in shit water. Right? You're nearly blind.
Near the end, they jump out of a truck with Bill Paxton's red truck. She hits her head on the truck, Helen Hunt, because it cuts to the stunt doubles where they jump out the truck, but they have to open the door and get close-ups of them. Right. They open the door. She hit her head on the door. She hit it pretty significantly that she got a very severe concussion. And they asked Jan about it, and Jan was like, I love Helen to death, but, you know, she could also be a little bit clumsy. Helen Hunt said, clumsy? The guy burned my retinas, but I'm clumsy. I thought I was a good sport. I don't know ultimately if Jan chalks me up as that or not, but I would hope so.
Oh, man. It was like...
Production was so bad that the original DP, Don Burgess, left. Because Jan, at one point, pushed down a camera assistant who missed the cue. And he got so pissed, he walked over to him. It was like, how'd you miss it? And pushed him down to the ground. And that was the final straw, because apparently the entire crew, from makeup to lighting to camera to set design, all had it with his shit, because they would film in one direction, and Jan, as they were shooting, Jan would be like, all right, we got to get it from this direction too. And they're like, Jan, we set up for this shot. Everything is here. We have to move everything now to the other side. He's like, yeah, do it. And he would berate them for taking too long. He's like, I used to be a DP. Y'all can't move this faster?
And that's the thing. Like, you used to be a DP, right? And as a DP, you've got to know, like, look, you got to make your fucking day, right?
So they moved up. So what happened was Don Burgess and his entire crew left, and then the hair and makeup department left, and the electrical department left. And so this is when Spielberg flew to Oklahoma, and the unit producer who was on set, he came to Jan one morning and was like, Jan, we got to go. And he's like, what do you tell me? You don't tell me where to go. He's like, Spielberg wants to talk to you. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, Steve is in Oklahoma. They get in a car, drive to not the airport, the tarmac where his private jet landed. The door opens to the private jet. Steve doesn't even walk down the stairs. He just stands at the top of the private jet. And apparently the unit production manager was like, all I could hear was swearing and yelling. And I watched it. Steven stood at the top of that jet and screamed obscenities at Jan for 15 minutes. He never once stepped foot in Oklahoma. He just stood at the top of the plane, and once he finished, The doors closed behind him, and he flew right back to L.A.
You can't tell me that Spielberg is not the godfather of Hollywood, right? That he flew to Oklahoma, right? Didn't get off his plane to yell at a director to just fly back, right? I think Steven didn't get off the plane because an old witch told him that he was going to die in Oklahoma, so he's never stepped foot there.
He was also busy doing something else at the time, so he's just like, oh, why do I got to go here and fix this? He's like, God damn. So there's a scene in the movie where the house, they built a whole house and they rigged it so it collapses in on itself. The new DP who got credited for shooting the movie, Jack and Green, 2 days before principal photography ended, they shot that on that set. Green was injured when the house, the hydraulic house in the scene, mistakenly activated with him inside it. So a rigged ceiling hit him in the head and injured his back, requiring him to be hospitalized. So for the remaining 2 days, Jan had to be his own DP.
That's amazing that the robot house became sentient and tried to kill the DP. That's amazing.
So principal photography was given a deadline because Helen Hunt had to go back and start shooting the 4th season of Mad About You. But this went over schedule, and Paul Reiser is the producer, creator, and star of that show. He agreed to delay the production of season 4 of Mad About You for 2.5 weeks so they could finish Twister, because Twister ran over that much time. And they had to get in multiple cameras so they could shoot this thing a little quicker.
I mean, it's honestly, like, in hindsight, it was fucking worth it, right?
Oh yeah,
it was totally 100% worth it.
Look, I will say this. Now I'm going to talk about the movie itself. There's a reason why this movie is one of the biggest blockbusters ever created. It's one reason why it holds up over time. It's a very simple story, right? The movie opens with Jo as a little girl. She watches her dad get killed by an F5 tornado. So this movie starts. She and her husband are in the middle of a divorce. He wants to marry his new girlfriend, and him and his new girlfriend get swept up in the storm chasing because they built Dorothy based on Bill's design, and Bill's like, I want to see Dorothy fly, and then I'm out of here. So, the first 5 attempts fail because they have 5 Dorothys, and that's the whole plot of the movie, is them trying to get Dorothy and these little balls into tornadoes so they can read tornadoes, so that way they know how they form, because she said these tornadoes come in an instant and they destroy everything in its path. What happens if we could figure out how they form, so that way we can have a 15-minute warning so people could get to basement and storm shelters? That, and she's dealing with the trauma of her dad being killed by an F5 tornado. Makes sense, right? Like, everybody has a motivation. Bill Paxton wants to see Dorothy be used, plus he still has unresolved feelings with his ex-wife. Helen Hunt has unresolved feelings with Bill and wants to prevent more death. I mean, everything in this is, like, 90% of this movie is practical. Like, yeah, the tornadoes are CG, but those tornadoes look good. And plus, they're dropping real things on these people. Like, they're driving and they're swerving through tractor trailers, dropping down in front of them. Like, my favorite part, and I told Jeff this last night, I forgot about this shit, where they drop an oil tanker like 20 feet in front of them and it explodes into one of the biggest fireballs I've ever seen put on film. And you have, I know those are clearly stunt people, but you have those motherfuckers driving through one of the biggest fireballs ever put on film.
Yeah, and I wonder why it went over.
They drive through a house, bro. A whole house. Like, they just drive through it. And also, the humor is great in that movie, where they're chasing the storm. A cow flies by, and Helen Hunt, she just goes, cow. And Jamie Gertz, who plays Bill Paxton's new wife-to-be, she's like, Barbara, I gotta go. We got cows. Or when the first Twister happens and they climb out of the ditch and Helen Hunt's like, where's my car? And it just falls from the sky and lands right in front of Jamie Kurtz as she's driving. She's like, oh, there it is. And since her car's destroyed, she just kicks in the window. She's like, oh, fuck it. I might as well just destroy it further. Clicks in the window, grabs her stuff, goes to Bill Paxton's like, oh, so your truck has insurance, right? He's like, yeah, it has insurance. It has liability insurance. Why? And he goes, no. And it cuts to them driving the truck.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into it in the main review, but the comedy on display, the fun is fucking apparent throughout this whole entire movie.
And each tornado attack is different. Like, each tornado attack is a different set piece. Like, the one in the drive-in is insane. The set piece where they're rescuing Aunt Meg. And right. Aunt Meg, they pull her out, and she's like, I can't do this. I'm going with you to the hospital. Aunt Meg's like, no. This tornado came out of nowhere. She's like, that's the whole reason why you're chasing these tornadoes is to save people. Please go figure this out so this don't happen again. And she's just like, make sure my dog is okay. And Bill Paxton goes inside the house, grabs the dog. So as he comes out of the house collapses in on itself. I'm like, bro, that's a real house. Just collapsing in on itself as Bill Paxton standing in front of it, holding the dog. Yo, the cast in this too, like Jamie Gertz, she's great in it. Philip Seymour Hoffman as like a hippie storm chaser. Todd Field, the director of In the Bedroom, Little Children, Tar from 2 years ago. He's in this too as a crazy ass storm chaser.
I forgot Tom. Like I forgot he was a fucking actor.
Yeah, he was in Kubrick's last movie.
Holy
like we all forget Todd Field was an actor before he was a director. I'm trying to think, Carrie Eulis is the bad guy in this. Like there's people, there's all that, and that's the thing is like I'll get into it in the main review, but like everybody has a different personality in this. Even Alan Ruck is in this, has a perfect personality as Rooster. He's known as Rooster. He's Google Maps. That's literally what he is. He's Google Maps. Like everybody serves a purpose and everybody's distinct, even if we don't know their names. Like Jeremy Davis is in this. And I was just like, what is he doing in this? And he's distinctive too in his bit part. And what's cool is Jan de Bont, he straight up said, he's like, I casted this because I wanted them to look like real storm chasers. And he did. He's like, we met these people. I want them to look like the people we met and talked to and did all this research for. And I'm like, well, that's another thing the OG has over the new one. Oh, man. Yeah. Look, even the final set piece with the F5, man. They still cracking jokes in that, where they run into the barn and they see all those knives and scythes and sharp objects. And Helen Hunt's like, what type of family lives here? And Bill Paxton's like, yeah, nah, let's go.
Shit. Yeah, no, it's hilarious. It's fun.
Look, when I get what Nolan was saying when he was sitting there last summer, he was like, we used to get movies like this in the 90s where they were made for adults. They were, even though Twister is a family movie, you could show that to kids because it's inoffensive. There's nothing in it there. But as far as blockbusters, like, some thought went into it, even though this movie is incredibly stupid. They still put a lot of thought and heart into it. It moves at a pace that a lot of 90s blockbusters moved at that we just don't have anymore, where it just, once it starts, it just keeps going. And you could see that in Nolan's work too. Like Inception has that pace. Tenet has that pace. Oppenheimer has that pace. Dunkirk has that pace where when it starts and it just keeps going. It just moves like a runaway freight train. And they give you just enough to care about Bill Hunt and Helen Hunt. Also helps that, they have chemistry. And the drama, when even Jan de Bont, because I watched the behind the scenes on the 4K Blu-ray, which I recommend you guys pick up, the 4K Blu-ray for Twisters. And then I'm going to say this and then we can move on. Even Jan was like, yo, listen, exposition is boring. It is the most boring thing you can put into a movie. So even the exposition had to move at a quick pace. And he's right. They give you just enough. It's never boring. The camera's always moving. Sometimes those are oneers. And there's a shot during the exposition where she has the papers in her hand and she's reading the divorce papers. And then she hands them over. She leaves the divorce papers on the car. And the camera's on them, and you could see the divorce papers on the hood of the truck. The camera pans around to them. She leaves out of frame. Bill Paxton leaves out of frame, and the camera is still focused on the divorce papers. And it takes a second for Bill Paxton to run back into frame and grab the divorce papers. I was like, see, that's what I'm talking about, bro. That's what I'm talking about.
Filmmaking. Deliberate.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Bill Paxton's first shot of the movie is an aerial shot of these oil of Oklahoma, just the Oklahoma countryside. And you see it, like there's a truck driving on the road and it's just this aerial shot, and the aerial shot pushes in all the way in till it's like a close-up of him and Jamie Gertz. And I'm just like, that is wild, because this movie was shot on film that they managed to do that. Like if they did that today, I'd be like, yeah, because we got digital cameras, but like with a helicopter, like there was no drones, no digital technology.
Today they wouldn't even bothered with a drone or a helicopter. They were done it all CGI.
There is no shot like that in the new Twisters at all that comes remotely even close to that. Like, this really is Jan de Bont making a Spielberg movie. So let's get in the trailer talk.
Roll camera and action.
It's time for some trailer talk.
All right, let's start with The Front Room from the Eggers brothers. Robert Eggers' little brother teamed up and wrote and directed their own horror movie starring Brandy, and it looks solid. I ain't even gonna lie.
Yeah, no, it looks it looks tense, right? And honestly, it looks relatable to a lot of people who have been in that situation with having a fucking mother-in-law who is evil, right? Perceived evil, right? But like this bitch might actually be evil, might be the devil.
A white supremacist coming to find out.
I mean, honestly, my only problem with this was that it was shot so like, or whatever, like maybe it's the screen. I didn't realize that chick was black. I was white, right? Until they mentioned it. Yeah, she looked black as fuck. And that's probably might be a reveal that she's like mixed in the movie. See. But like she looked like she looked black.
Drops in September. So I'm going to be asking about it soon. A24, I was like, damn, all right, A24 stepping up their horror game, because we're going to get now into the next trailer, because I'm excited to see that. That was a solid trailer. Excited to see this new one, too. Heretic. I love evil Hugh Grant. I'm always down for evil Hugh Grant.
Yeah, no, it looks really, really good. And it gave us nothing, right?
Yeah,
it was all atmosphere and setup, right?
But that like, last shot, man, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, but like we know nothing about this fucking movie, and that's
except that these two missionaries are stuck inside evil Hugh Grant's puzzle house.
Yeah,
like so my man's made the Clue mansion to kill these two girls.
Is this a thinking man Saw? Like, what is going on? Yeah,
I don't know. I'm excited to see it. To be quite honest,
yeah, it looks good. It looks good.
Yeah, like I said, I'm always here for evil Hugh Grant. My man's having the time of his life in his golden years. Moving on, we're going to talk about Afraid. Afraid is an AI movie. It's like Alexa come to life.
I don't think I didn't see.
That's why the A and the I in Afraid is italicized. Get it?
Yeah. I didn't see the trailer for this. But is this from the people who made Megan?
Yep. It's a Blumhouse. It is a Blumhouse production starring John Cho, which I'm always happy to see John Cho, and Catherine Waterston. And I'm like, Catherine Waterston, you are too good to be doing this type of shit.
Yo, fucking mortgages don't pay themselves, man.
That's true. And I guess there's going to be no more Fantastic Beasts for her to pop up in.
Mm.
Yeah. It looks exactly how it sounds.
Yeah. Like, what was I gonna say? Like, it. Okay. Like, is Blumhouse just? Is that what they're gonna do now? It's just like these.
It looks like it. You know what it reminds me of? This is like. It looks exactly like Deep Water. Instead of a haunted pool, it's just a sentient AI.
Right? Is it like a sentient AI? And like, you know what? I don't care.
It's a sentient AI in a house.
Okay. So,
like, the only part of that shit I liked is the teenage girl. She sent her boyfriend some nudie pics, and he leaked them, and the whole school saw them. And she's like, "Don't worry, I've taken down the pictures and deleted them everywhere." And then that dude drives a Tesla, and the AI takes over the Tesla and crashes that bitch. I was like, all right, that's the only part that's cool.
All right.
That's the only part.
Look,
look, to every dude listening, if a girl sends you nudes, don't leak them unless it's OnlyFans, because OnlyFans is for everybody. Otherwise, like, don't leak nudes.
Those are yours. That's a contract between you and her.
Yeah, man. Like,
or you and him, whoever.
Also, like, if a girl sends you nudes, obviously, she's gonna give you some.
I mean, that's a larger conversation. Some bitches like some people in general just want to be seen.
Yeah, I have not run into that yet.
Yeah, that's a larger conversation for a different podcast. But sentient AI. Look, if you expect nothing, you're never disappointed.
Oh yeah. Like, yo, listen, my expectations are firmly set. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if this like Megan, my expectations for Megan were set, and that shit ended up being actually good. So
right.
I'm just going to keep, for Blumhouse movies, I'm just like, it's a Blumhouse movie.
Yeah. Like, maybe look at it right. You know, like,
exactly.
You got a 50-50 chance of it being good.
Exactly. So, moving on to our last trailer, Black Captain America in Captain America Brave New World, aka Captain America New World Order. Definitely can't call it that after this past weekend. Man.
Look, we're not going to talk about that, but all I'm going to do is quote, this is my second Omar reference to the day. I'm going to quote Omar from The Wire. If you come at the king, you best not miss.
That nigga's not. That's all I'm going to say. Let's not do that. He ain't a king.
No, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't miss.
Very wild to now think about it. This trailer dropped Friday with Harrison Ford, an assassination attempt on Harrison Ford as General Thunderbolt Ross.
Right.
And the very next day, because let's be real, Ross is basically a more politically savvy and ruthless Trump. Like, let's be real.
I mean, like, a smarter, less evil Trump.
I'd say he's just as evil.
No, like, see, he has evil for a purpose. Trump is evil for evil's sake, for like greed, right? Thunderbolt Ross is like, at least he believes in America. He believes in the government. We're not going to get into this, but let's get back to the trailer.
Because there's a line in the trailer where he's clearly using Sam as a puppet.
Yeah.
As like, hey, Captain America's on my side. Come vote for me.
Right.
You know, that type of shit. And there's a line in the trailer where he just straight up says, "You may be Captain America, but you're not Steve Rogers." And fucking Sam looks at him. He's like, "Yeah, you're right." I was like, "Yeah, what'd you expect, bro? Like, what'd you expect? Like, you even like you didn't even like Steve." Like, you want to put Steve in the raft. Like, you made him a war criminal. And then when he shows up to help save the world in Endgame, first thing you say is, Colonel Rhodes, arrest him.
Yeah.
And I just remember, I love his reaction. He's like, yeah, I'll get right on that. Like, he looked at him like, is you crazy?
I was like, motherfucker, what?
Yeah, what?
Do you understand what we are doing here?
He's like, I'm glad it was him, because I would have been like, bro, half the world is gone. And you're still on some arrest him shit. I'd be like, yo, you see these nuts right here? But yeah, look, I like the trailer, and that's what makes me mad, is that if this trailer was terrible, I'd be like, all right, yeah, man.
Yeah, that's what I expected.
Yeah. But the trailer's good, and I'm just like, damn, man. Now, like, if Black Captain America is not good, like, I'm gonna just be so mad, and I know it's not gonna be good.
Yeah.
Just because it has had the same type of production that Multiverse of Madness has had, where they've had 30 different scripts, 20 rewrites,
3 different reshoots. Like, it's a hodgepodge. It's like the Mad Libs of movies. But that's a Marvel movie. That's what we know from now, right? And I know better than to be excited. I know better. I will say the trailer looks fantastic, right? If the movie is half as good as the trailer, then we might have something, but it won't be.
I will say this will be a pass if it's at least better than Multiverse of Madness.
You can't,
and Quantumania, like
low bars. You like Captain America. You got a low bar. You can do it. You can do it. You got a real low bar.
This is where we're at. Where we're just like, yo, just make this shit at least better than those two, and better than Thor 2.
I still defend Thor 2, but like, this is where we are now with Marvel. It's like, I just make the movie that we're about to see better than your worst movies, right? Like, make it better than your worst. You don't have to make it good.
I was like, yo, y'all cannot trot out a trailer that's going to promise us Winter Soldier except with Red Hulk.
Right.
And then we go see this and it's some garbage.
Right. It's Secret Invasion.
Yeah, man. Sure, man.
Yeah, by the way, I wonder how that shit's going to play out in this sense. You know what? I'm not even going to think about it. They're not thinking about it. I'm not thinking about it.
This is where they fucked up. See, had they have not done Secret Invasion, they could have just pivoted away from Kang Dynasty and just did Avengers Secret Invasion, and then lead that into Secret Wars.
Yeah, they could have, but I got them on a TV show.
Yeah, I don't understand why one of the most significant events in comic history was a TV show, and then one that has literally no implications on anything.
It wasn't even well. It wasn't well executed. It made no fucking sense.
No.
Right.
And there's major consequences at the end that have yet to be explored in anything.
Like, they promised us an espionage show, a spy show with superheroes, and what we got was
lukewarm Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. That was just boring and convoluted.
Not like it wasn't even convoluted. It was too stupid to be convoluted.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. All right. Well, Captain America, Brave New. Also, Kevin, I want to say this before we move on. You're an idiot. This is our 4th Captain America movie, and you still haven't had one of these drop 4th of July. What is wrong with you?
Right? Like, honestly,
seriously.
I know you have to keep it like, Thursday, Friday, but yeah, if this dropped
July 3rd, because every 4th of July movie drops the day before.
Right. If it dropped July 3rd, people are going to feel real patriotic. They're going to come out and say, fuck yeah, America, fuck yeah. Nah.
Instead, this is coming out in February, and I'm like, oh, y'all trying to pull the Black Panther thing again? Because it's Black History Month.
Black History Month. Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, originally supposed to come out this year, May this year. May. Prime time May date.
Yeah, because they were so busy reshooting the shit because people hated it. People, like, the test audiences hated it. But, like...
Also, you can't take test audiences at their word, though.
Right. Like, did you make a good fucking movie? Right? Like, you should, like, if your job is to make movies, you can look at the movie and just say, look, did I make a good movie? Am I proud of this?
Like, the only movie I know that tested great was Guardians of the Galaxy. Volume 2. Volume 2 is the highest tested movie in Marvel history. And I'm just like, yeah, because you can't trust test audiences because that's the weakest one in the whole trilogy.
Right. I still would fuck with parts of it. But yeah, like out of the 3, it's the worst one.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. That Volume 2 to me felt like a placeholder movie.
Yeah, like I said, there are parts of part 2 that I really love. Like, I love the stuff with like the Yondu stuff at the end. I really loved.
Yeah, right. But then everything else is just like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I would also say this is bad news for Marvel. Thunderbolts comes out the end of July. They took Nolan's normal date, and Marvel has now dated almost every single movie for that primetime slot. They stole Nolan's date, and I'm just like, that's going to backfire on y'all eventually. And next year, I don't think it's going to work out well, just because Superman comes out January 11th, Thunderbolts comes out, July 11th. Right. July 26th, Thunderbolts comes out, and I'm like, okay, if Superman is just as good as Volume 3 or Guardians 1 or the Suicide Squad, like
you're done. Like, right? Thunderbolts, a property that we still know very little about, very little hype, right?
Also would like to say, Nolan proved last year he can compete with a big summer movie.
Right. Temple movie.
And swallow up, like, don't get me wrong, people love Barbie. People saw Barbie more. Barbie made more money, but what lasted longer in the cultural conversation?
I mean, they both had that longevity. I'm not going to take that away from Barbie.
But people talked about Oppenheimer more. So like when he dates his next movie for end of July, whenever it's going to come out, and Marvel has their movie the same day, I'm just like, what do you think people are going to go see? Like my man sold you a 3-hour biopic about the man who built the atomic bomb and made that $1 billion hit that won multiple awards, including Best Picture. I'm like, at a certain point, I'm just like, yo, Kevin, listen, the chickens are coming to roost, baby.
Just make good movies, man. Like, stop worrying about the dates and just start making fucking good movies.
You really trying to steal that summer date. Like, you really trying to steal Nolan's summer date. Like, yo, nah. Absolutely not. Oh, boy. All right, let's get into our main review.
And now, the moment you've been waiting for. The Film Blerds feature film review.
All right.
So Twisters, Lee Isaac Chung's standalone legacy sequel, 28 years later. It's not, I'll say this, it's not a bad movie, but if you're making a movie that is using the same font, the same location, even the same device. Because at the beginning of the movie, they are using Dorothy. You have to bring something very special to the table, and this doesn't.
So, I had no expectations for this movie, right? So, like, I went in thinking whatever. So it's fine. It's good enough. It's enjoyable. But if you take a sort of step back, right, you can still see some of the story beats from the first movie.
Yes, it feels like
right?
it feels like they redid the first movie, except just not anywhere near as good.
Fun. Right, that's not nearly as fun. But like if you look back, it's like, all right, so this is all right. Instead of the drive-in, there's the rodeo, right? Like they felt like we were just switching shit up, and it's fine, right? It just, and we were talking about this last night. It's just not as fun as the first one. Right? Because it's not
fun. It's not it's not even as well constructed as the first one. Like the first tornado is so underwhelming. Like I got scared. I'm like, is this what we're going to be? What we're in for? Like those first 15 minutes, I'm like, this is not that good.
Right. And like there is a lot of backstory that we don't need. Right? There's a lot of fat in this that we don't need. That if we cut a lot of that without losing the soul of what, or like the information that they were giving, at least it would have moved faster. Yeah.
That's the one thing I will say about Twister, the original, is like Helen Hunt had life to her character. Like Joe was a fully fleshed out character. She had agency, you know what I'm saying? She wasn't being fought over by two knuckleheads. Honestly, they're both. That's the thing. I was like, dude, I don't even like Glenn Powell in this movie. Glenn Powell, who's basically at one point, I thought he was going to turn to the camera and be like, "Hi, I'm Tyler Owens. Welcome to Jackass."
Yeah, I hated Glenn Powell's character in this, but then like eventually, like just like Glenn Powell, he grows on you by halfway through the movie. But
he grew on you because I still, even at the end of the movie, I'm like, I don't give a shit. I began to like not hate him. You were like, I still don't care about this guy. The thing is, I think, and I told this to Jeff, what makes one thing about the three leads in this, the first one's a two-hander, right? And everybody else supports those two hands, which are Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton. Wow. This one is a three-hander because it is Daisy Edgar Jones, Glenn Powell, and Anthony Ramos.
Right.
Problem is, Anthony Ramos is in the Jamie Gertz role, but Jamie Gertz was a side character, and you still liked her. I didn't really care for Anthony Ramos either, because I'm like, did y'all not learn nothing from Rise of Skywalker? So now we're just going to have another minority follow this white girl and have him pine over this white girl who just doesn't care about him? Like, that's what we're doing again? Like, we're doing the love triangle was built up before the movie even started in the first one. In this one, they do the love triangle, and I was just like, I don't care. Daisy Edgar Jones just doesn't. She's a great actress. Don't get me wrong. She's an attractive woman, but she did not have chemistry with either the two leading men in this motherfucker.
And like,
that is hard because Glenn Powell has chemistry with everybody. Right, and honestly, there came a point at the end of the movie where I was just like, I would have rather seen the movie where it was just these two being friends. Anthony Ramos and Glenn Powell.
Right. because that seemed like that, right? I was like at the end of the movie when they're at the airport, it's like, are these two niggas gonna kiss?
Like when they become friends at the end of the movie and they started helping each other during the climax, I'm like,
that's a better movie.
Yes. That was a better movie. And I'm not saying this is a bad movie. Like, it's an enjoyable enough movie because there's really nothing else out there. I didn't like not the conspiracy, like the scam. Yeah, because the scam doesn't make any sense. Like, I get it.
Scam makes no fucking sense.
The dude's going in disaster zones and buying up land, but then like they try to make him a bad guy. But it's hard for me to view this dude as a bad guy just because I'm like, well, he is giving people who lost everything tons of money to start over.
Right. Like,
and it's not like he's telling them, like, oh, leave Oklahoma. They could just go to another part,
right,
in the same town where he doesn't own, and just buy some property there and build another house, and still probably have money left over.
Yeah, he's a capitalist.
To do well.
Like, the bad guy is a capitalist, an opportunist, right? But he's not like evil.
It's not like Carrie Eulis.
Right,
who was straight up stealing technology from Bill Paxton and was like, look what I created. I know everything about tornadoes.
Right.
When he clearly doesn't.
And I do enjoy, like, how this movie, like I said, it's got the same story beats as the first one, but like just different enough. So we start off Twisters, right? With, we're on the side of the Carrie Elways team, right? Like the guys with all the money, and like the professional, the more slick guys, right? And and then we end up, like, we start the movie hating the Helen Hunt team, which is the Glenn Powell team, right? Like the ragtag fucking YouTuber bullshit, right? And then we do the switch in the fucking middle of the movie where you start like, oh, these guys are, we were siding with the wrong people. I get what they were doing there, right? And it was interesting. I think that was the most interesting thing about the movie.
And you know what? That could have been, and I agree with you, but that also should have been executed much better.
Yeah.
I will say the one thing about Twisters that they have over this, the characters are thinly sketched in both movies, but at least the first movie, they felt like real people, right? These feel like real people. The second one, they just felt like stereotypes. Like, yeehaw!
Right.
Random cowboy. Yeah. And as soon as they show up, David Cronenworth, our new Superman, who totally bland and forgettable in this because they make him totally bland and forgettable.
Who's he in this movie?
Javi's right-hand man.
Oh, like the dick? The asshole, his business partner?
They might as well have given him a mustache and just had him twirl it.
Right, like he's the Carrie Elways, right? He's the Carrie Elways of this movie. Like
they might as well have just given him a mustache and him walking into the scene just twirling that every time he comes on screen.
Like, I'm angry.
He was a better villain in Pearl than he was in this. Because watching this, I'm just like, man, I hope James Gunn did not fuck up with Superman.
Yeah,
because watching this, I was just like,
he saw something.
Yeah, like. Everybody feels fully fleshed out in the first movie. This one, they're just caricatures, and the only difference is this time we have minorities. Like, that's the only difference. And I'm just like, okay, but like, there's nothing to them, right? Any of them. There's nothing to any of these people. Like, even Tyler, there's barely anything to him other than I chase tornadoes and help people out.
Right.
And I love Daisy Edgar Jones. Also, the one part in the trailer, the one line in the trailer I love where Brandon Pierre yells out, "We got twins! Twins!" I thought that was going to be either at a very significant high octane moment or played for comedy relief. And in the film, it is neither.
It's a weak fart. It's like a weak ejaculation. Right? Yeah. It's literally like, we've got twins. That whole entire sequence breaks down to like, should we make a left or a right? Right? There's no,
and they do that, and that's the thing. They do that in the first one, but it's only like a split second they'll do that. Like, it's not a whole, like, 4 or 5 minutes of your set piece. They're just like, turn right up here, and they do it, and skirt.
And
the
honestly,
car, like, go ahead.
Honestly, for a movie called Twisters, right? And like even in the promotional material, like there's never a situation where there's two tornadoes heading towards each other, right? And they're in the middle of it.
I think the one thing that kills this is the set pieces. Because if the characters ain't good, then the set pieces have to be good. Because that's the one thing we all know Twisters from. I mean, I just said, like, yo, they drive through a house. They drop an oil tanker on them. They're dropping tractor trailers on them. A house collapses in on themselves. The car chases, even in the first one, like, there's 28 years later, and you're trying to tell me even the car chases are better in the first one than they are in this one. That's unacceptable.
Well,
on
here's
every
the
level.
Here's the primary thing, right? The first one, it felt dangerous. We just talked about this, right? Because it was
because
real.
they did
real
as
shit.
much as they could practically before they added in the CG.
Right. So it felt dangerous, right? It felt like we were really in danger. In this, because most of this is CGI, right? I didn't feel any danger, right?
No.
Like,
and nothing falls from the sky. The only thing that falls from the sky is a chicken.
Right. And look.
Good joke. But
good joke. Yeah.
Damn, like, y'all couldn't have like a house fall or something. Like, that's the whole. That's what makes the first movie cool, man. Like,
and like here's the thing. You touched on it. This movie's not funny, right? No. Like, the first one is fucking funny, right? Like,
this one, and I said this last night. This one wants to be a real movie, which fine, but then that means everything has to be
better,
100%.
Right.
And instead, y'all just made a serious version of what y'all did 28 years ago. And I am sorry, literally nobody wants to see that shit.
Right. And honestly, in a period where legacy sequels, right, have honestly surpassed a lot of people's expectations, right? For the most part. This is, you can't come at this half-assed, right?
I said this to you last night. I think it's okay. It ain't a great movie, but it's definitely better than the first one. I think Tron Legacy is a better Legacy sequel than this. Like, the only thing this has going for it is that it's just a standalone movie. Right. So you could go watch it, enjoy it, and don't have to worry about, what are they talking about? That's from the last movie. And only other positive I got to say about this, it don't set up like 20 other movies. Like, it's literally a standalone movie.
Well, even though there is they of course they leave it open for other sequels, but like, if this was the end, this is the end. Yeah.
I was just like, after 28 years, after the fact that Bill Paxton and Jan de Bont, the experience they had together making the first one, they stayed in touch and were lobbying hard and working hard to do a sequel. And then that went out the window when Bill Paxton died. The fact that as soon as lockdown happened, Helen Hunt went to Spielberg and Universal and Warner Brothers and is like, hey, I got an idea for Twister. I want to direct it and I want to co-write it. And I want to co-write it with Daveed Diggs and have Daveed Diggs star in it. And it's going to be about black and brown storm chasers for a new generation. Like, we're just going to do another movie where where it's a new team of scientists working from the lab that we had in the first one. And they're using our technology in modern day. And they're just going to be all minorities. And they're just like, yeah, no.
Yeah, I love that. That's what I thought Anthony Ramos was going to be. Right.
Right.
Like, instead of
that's my thing that also makes this movie inert and disposable. They used Dorothy at the beginning of the movie, but I'm like, they already did that in the first one. So now, like, he took that technology a step further, and now you have to place 3 sensors around the tornado to get a reading. And I'm like, but why? They already know how tornadoes work because they finally got Dorothy in the tornado at the end of the first Twister. So they know how it works. Like, the whole movie ends with them arguing and bickering, like, hey, who's going to run the lab? Who's going to run the analysis? And all the team running up like, we got the data. And it's just like,
you got the data the last time.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Well, if we're getting to the nitpicky things, and I mentioned this last night, right?
Oh, that this movie's basically like how to kill a tornado. That's what this whole thing's about, like killing tornadoes, which is infinitely stupider than anything in the first movie.
Right. Like, if it
Same
were
with the
just
fireworks, like the fireworks, that took me out where I was just like, I'm almost checked out.
Like when they drive the truck into the tornado and launch fireworks at the beginning of the movie, I was like, but do the fireworks kill tornadoes? Is that a thing? Right? Does it change the barometric pressure? Like, why, besides looking cool for YouTube, and I get it, people do shit for clout, but why did that happen? And also, how does that correlate to, like, what Kate's character was working on, right?
And it's sad too, because like I said before, like Daisy Edgar-Jones, she's a good actress, but she is giving it's partially her fault. I'm gonna be real with you. It's partially her fault because it's dull. Like, the character's dull. Her acting is competent, but not giving what this character needs to make it stand out. Like, she's playing the same exact role as Helen Hunt, and Helen Hunt did it 10 times better because she at least infused some life into the character.
So, like,
makes sense.
I got a problem with Kate on a lot of different reasons. All right, so, like,
just a bland character.
She's a storm whisperer, right? So
she picks up dandelions, rips off the seeds, and lets them go.
Like, whatever. Like, she can feel the barometric. She has some mutant power. Fine, whatever. So here's my big problem with that character, right? So after the first 15 minutes, we skip ahead 5 years, right? So, by the way, the first Twister takes place in 3 days, right? Mm-hmm. This Twister takes place over 5 years. So, also, that's the thing. So my problem is, all right, so after the first 15 minutes, I'm not going to spoil it for you, for everyone to go see it, but, like, something big happens in the first 15 minutes, right? And she's shell-shocked, right? And then she doesn't do storm chasing anymore. She abandons her research. And I'm like, that's science, baby. Like,
I think that's the one thing they did correctly in the first one, is what you're getting at, which is that Joe's trauma is part of the reason why she's so reckless.
Right.
And Bill Paxton even states so, like, yo, you got to stop trying to save your dad because you're going to get yourself killed.
Right.
That's her whole, like, the trauma is the reason of her action. And in this one, they make it the whole reason for her inaction, which we've seen how many different times, the refusal to call.
Right. But, like, here's the thing. That's how science works, right? You take risks. There are motherfuckers who've developed cancer, had radiation poisoning, right? Like, in search of
an answer.
The answer, right? So, like, you didn't want to be a scientist to begin with because, like, you weren't willing to take the risk, right? Like,
It's just wild to me that people poo-poo the first one and say how stupid it is, and then watch this one and praise it. And I'm just like, guys, there's barely any characters here.
Right.
The set pieces aren't even... This movie is more expensive than the first one, and yet has less than half of the action the first one does. The human drama in the first one never slows down the movie. This, when they get to the human drama in this, it comes to a screeching halt where I'm just like, oh God, dude, this is so uninteresting. Where the first one, I was actually invested in Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt's relationship.
Yeah, and
I didn't give a fuck about the love triangle.
And like, this just gets like how Anthony Ramos gets the fucking technology, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the way he explains it is like, you mean espionage, man? Right? You stole this from the government? Because like they're just not giving it up, right?
Well, he developed it. He explains he worked in the military as an analyst, and he developed it during his time at the military.
No, he didn't develop it. He said he got his hands on it.
No, he said he developed it. He definitely said he developed it.
No,
man.
he
like, said he developed it, and he used a little bit of government funding because he was their top analyst.
I missed all of that because what I heard was I got these things are usually the sizes of a building. They've developed smaller ones that are portable that I got my hands on. Prototypes I got my hands on.
Don't forget, like, people buy in the government all the time. Like, we have how many? There's ranchers who are billionaires who buy into politics. Like, that was like the whole last season of House of Cards. So, like, that dude going around, I'm pretty sure he bought government equipment and funding for this whole project. I have no problems with that shit, but it's just like it's so convoluted for no reason, where the first one, literally everything is so streamlined, and it makes for a better movie because of it.
Right, because like in the first one, there's two bad guys, right? The tornadoes and Carrie Elwes.
Carrie Elwes, yeah.
Right? In this one, the tornadoes don't seem like a threat. Right, and also,
it's missing that danger. Right, that is the one thing about this movie is like the entire time watching this, I'm like, this feels so weightless.
Right, and here's the thing, and I mentioned this last night. Right, in the first one, the sound of a tornado,
it was violent.
It felt like an animal, right? It felt like a hell beast, right? There was some like threat to it. Here, like, it sounds like a tornado, right? They didn't put any sort of like
the first one, the tornado is, you hear it like,
right.
Like you hear that motherfucker. And this one, I'm just like, by the way, the screening was in IMAX last night, and I was just like, this sound is not hitting at all.
Yeah.
I was just like, even though it's not shot for IMAX, which I don't mind, usually big blockbuster movies take advantage of IMAX's sound system, and this didn't really take advantage of IMAX's sound system. So I don't know if it was the sound mix or because they just didn't turn it up, maybe, but I didn't feel the twisters when it was coming.
Right. And like, you know, I'm going to have to watch this fucking thing again. But yeah, I'm not sure if it was just like the sound where we were had no character to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
man.
it feels like we're nitpicking this fucking movie, right?
But if you're making a sequel to one of the defining blockbusters, like
of the 90s,
like a movie that still has a legacy till this day, right?
Yeah.
Jan de Bont came back and did a whole retrospective for the 4K Blu-ray, talking about the new 4K restoration, the new Dolby Atmos soundtrack, the legacy of the movie itself. It's just like, well, yeah, man, like the fact that Helen Hunt had such a bad time making the first one, she wanted to make a sequel herself. The fact that Jan wanted to make a sequel, the fact that Bill Paxton wanted to make a sequel, and we finally get one. And honestly, I kind of like Into the Storm better. And that movie was a piece of shit. This is a better movie. This is better as a movie, but that movie is better as entertainment.
What? Isn't that the one? That's the first person one, right? That's the video cam one.
That's the one where they shoot it on like YouTube and shit like that.
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, you're not wrong about that.
Dude, I before we recorded this morning, I was on Twitter and I searched. Also, Into the Storm is 1 hour and 29 minutes versus this, which is 2 hours and 2 minutes. And the first Twister, that's another thing the first Twister has over this. The first Twister is only 1 hour and 53 minutes. And it doesn't even feel that long. Honestly, it feels shorter than that.
Right.
But yeah, I was searching Twister on Twitter today, and there was people who put up their videos on Twitter chasing these storms in Oklahoma. And I'm like, dude, this is crazier than anything in the fucking movie.
Right.
And it looks better. And this is somebody filming it on their phone.
Yeah, I mean, A, because it's real. But, like, I don't know why. Like, the tornadoes, I honestly, they do look better here. But that's because you've got 30 years worth of technology behind it. Yeah?
I think they look better in the previous movie.
Nah, like
the tornadoes are much better in the previous movie. Also, there's only 2 set pieces I really liked, and even those are underwhelming. And the first one is the one with the pool, and that one's underwhelming because they decide to add 2 quote unquote woke characters into that, where I was just like, why are you doing this and why now? Like we are more than halfway through this movie and you're gonna throw these 2 characters in here?
Okay, because you needed victims, right? Like, spoiler alert,
that's stupid. That is just stupid. The second and the only other one was the one where the tornado catches fire and it destroys that factory, but then the fire is put out almost immediately. Like, It catches fire, you're just like, all right, so how are they gonna deal with this? And then okay, all right.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, it's fine.
Yeah,
it's
man.
Fine.
It is.
It is like, you will not hate yourself for going to see this, but I could go the rest of my life without seeing Twisters.
Yeah.
Again.
Oh yeah. Like, I'm gonna probably watch Twister again because that movie rules. This.
It's fine. Like, I've seen worse. I've seen worse this summer.
Right. And this is not the worst movie I've seen all year, but this is definitely the most I've been disappointed all year.
Right.
Like, nothing's disappointed me, really, except for this. Like, even Argyle, I was just like, well, it's Matthew Vaughn, so whatever. And that is still the worst movie all year, just because, like, for a bunch of different reasons. But this, I was like, yo, Lee Isaac Chung doing his first big blockbuster. We're finally getting a sequel to Twisters, and it's just like, the danger is not there. That's the one thing I love about the first movie, is like, you feel the danger. And you would think 28 years later they'd work in some global warming shit, like, yo, the tornadoes are crazier because of global warming. And nah.
This movie is absolutely fine. We're in the middle of a heat wave. If you need to get out of the house and cool down,
I'm kind of wondering, because Daisy Edgar Jones is British and she does an American accent so perfectly. I'm wondering if her playing an American so often is just zapped her of anything she can bring to some of these roles. You know what I'm saying?
It's fair.
And, like, I'll be real with you, man. Anthony Ramos is a charisma machine. There was nothing there for him. And, like we talked about, I like Glenn Powell, right? And I just felt nothing for Tyler. I felt nothing. I didn't care. I
hated him at first, and then by the end, I hated him a little less. Right?
You see, even you don't care about the characters, and you like this more than I did.
Right, because, like, you had expectations for this. I had no expectations for this, so, like, I can't be disappointed by this. It was impossible for me to be disappointed. Right? Only surprised.
because, you know, the first Twister, I'll say this, it's not laden with unnecessary trauma. The trauma plays into the storyline. Right. It's not casual about the tornadoes and weather phenomenon. You know what I mean? Like, this treats this just like another day in Oklahoma. Mm. It has like I said, the female lead in the previous one, Helen Hunt, had agency and brightness and veracity to it. Like, there's looks she gives Bill Paxton throughout the movie that informs her character. Even with Jamie Gertz, there's a scene between her and Jamie Gertz where Jamie Gertz is like, you know, you're still in love with him, aren't you? And she just looks at her, like, gives her a side eye, like, oh shit, bitch. You're like, yeah. She's like, yeah, don't think this is gonna bring you two back together. And she's just like, she see her shove like mad gum in her mouth and just go, we're when she's paying the bill, we're together, and she runs out. You know what I'm saying? Or when Bill Paxton is micing her up and he accidentally brushes against her body as he's micing her up. And you can see in Bill Paxton's face, like, he's a little still embarrassed, but also like turned on. And then you see Helen Hunt, she's looking confused, but also turned on. She gives him a look like, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, there's nothing in... Damn, man, like...
It's fine. You could do worse this weekend. You really could.
The OG Twister has no YouTube, no drones, no sinking feeling that we don't know what makes anything fun anymore. No, seriously, you might when he drove right into the tornado, they should have just had him say, "Hi, I'm Tyler Owens, and welcome to Jackass." And then I would have been like, okay, I respect the fireworks.
Yeah.
The fireworks, I was just like, that's what we're doing in this movie.
I thought the fireworks actually did something. Like, I was like, why did he do what? Like, why?
There is nothing that stupid in the first movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, when that is a centerpiece and one of the action set pieces in this movie, I don't know, man.
That's
Yo, I'm saying they got 1 week. They got 1 week because Deadpool and Wolverine opens, right?
I mean, like, look,
y'all got 1 week.
Deadpool and Wolverine is going to eat everything's lunch.
That's why I am saying this should have came out at the beginning of May, because I have a feeling people would have went to see this at the beginning of May. And then if the Fall Guy came out now, people are back in the theaters now because of Inside Out, Despicable Me, and Bad Boys 3. So they'd be like, oh, all right, well, let's check it out. It's in theaters, whatever. Let's go see it.
And instead of trying to fight each other, right? Instead of all these studios trying to fight each other, why don't they capitalize
and counter program?
Right.
Because I have a feeling the Fall Guy would have worked in hand in tandem with Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, right? Like,
because Twisters and Deadpool and Wolverine are vying for the same audience. And now I'm just like, well...
yeah, like, you could have counter-programmed, you could have, like, capitalized on the success of your competitor's movie, right? And you could all win.
That's how that's how Barbie and Oppenheimer won last year. Because, you know, look at Despicable Me. It's doing well, but not as well as it could have. You know why?
Because it's going against
Inside Out 2.
Right.
Which just opened 3 weeks earlier, and people are still trying to get around to see that shit.
Right. Yeah. So.
But they had to come out 4th of July because, you know, every Despicable Me and Minions movie comes out 4th of July.
Does it?
Yeah.
All right. That's fine. Whatever. Okay.
I was like, yeah, those shits can come out 4th of July, but we can't have Captain America come out 4th of July.
That's sure. Okay. Yeah. Like, but instead of, I mean,
I'm very, like, they said it's going to open anywhere between 60 and 80 million. And I'm like, oh, that's really good.
Yeah.
But y'all need legs. And I don't know if the legs are there because this movie cost $200 million, which is wild that this movie cost $200 million and doesn't have as much action as the previous one.
Right. And like in the previous one, 5 tornadoes. because they right, like literally.
You start so the first tornado at the beginning of the movie when Joe was a little girl was a F5, and then we move through the tornadoes F1, F2, F3, and then we end on an F5,
right?
Where they literally, and I told you this last night. I'm like, nothing comes to the climax of the first one where they literally tie themselves down and are being flown. That was really Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton in a wind tunnel being held upside down.
Yeah, like it's like I said, practical. And I've been saying this on the show forever. Just build the shit.
Yeah,
just build the shit.
Like before we leave, the one thing I will give this movie is they tried to shoot on film to make the look of the movie like down to the film stock. They asked for the same exact film stock from Kodak that they shot on the first movie. I was like, all right, y'all trying to replicate the look. I respect that. They went to Oklahoma and actually shot in Oklahoma. Respect that, especially since they have like these clay red dirt roads to match the green that's around. I'm like, that's cool looking. So I respect that.
Right.
And then 3, some of the camera work does match what Jan was doing in the first one, just not as good as what Jan was doing. But,
this is fine. It's fine. This movie is fine. Like, I will say, you watch it big, right? But don't pay for IMAX.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Predators, because you know how Aliens is just like, oh, you went from Alien to Aliens, and then Predator to Predators, and you watch Predators, and you're just like, it's fine. It's just the fact that it's following Predator, and Predator's a much better movie. That's what Twisters is. Twisters is like Predators, where you're just like, this would be a decent movie on its own if it's not following this absolute juggernaut.
When you say Predator, you mean like the OG Predator?
Yes,
or like
the OG Predator. Because remember, they did Predators. Like they tried to do, you know how they went from Alien to Aliens? They went from Predator to Predators, and now they're doing Twister to Twisters.
Right, but like
y'all gotta work for that S is what I'm trying to say. Because even though I like Alien better than Aliens, James Cameron, he worked for that S.
Yeah. Like
y'all didn't work for that S.
Right. I like Aliens better than Alien, but like that's a different discussion.
You get where I'm going.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like James Cameron put his foot in it. Right?
I will even say this. Even though Predators isn't as good as Predator, I would say Predators is a better movie than Twisters.
Yeah.
Because at least they tried.
Yeah.
With the action and shit.
Look, this is an absolutely fine movie. Right? Like
I mean, the first one had a Van Halen. They had fucking Van Halen do one of the coolest instrumentals over the end credits. And I'm like, that's what we need. We need more like musicians just doing dope ass music over end credits.
I miss 90s soundtracks. I miss what we used to do in the 90s.
Yeah, because the soundtrack for this is nothing but country. And then the first movie, it was nice because I was like, oh yeah, this sounds like what they would listen to, like classic rock, Heartland music. You know what I mean? Like hard Van Halen. Like Van Halen made 2 songs, the instrumental and then that song Humans Being, which is basically the theme song for that movie. And it fits perfectly.
Right.
Well,
all right. So yeah,
that's it.
Twisters.
You could wait for Peacock. Honestly,
I mean, like, I think you will enjoy it better seeing it in a theater, right? Like, I can't imagine myself sitting down at home watching this.
Yeah, that if somebody has a good setup at home, you could wait for Peacock. Yeah.
Well, that's about it. Like, if you have a pretty good setup, then maybe. But otherwise, just fucking go to a matinee.
I can't even recommend that. So that is episode 127. We're the Film Blerds. I'm Brandon Norwood, and I'm the motherfucking protagonist.
I'm the protagonist.
I'm Jeff Stewart, a.k.a. He Who Remains.
Don't come at us. It's just fucking movies.
You've been listening to the Film Blerds podcast.
Man, I just love what you guys do, man.
I never miss an episode. It's the best.
It's my favorite podcast.
Follow Jeff on IG on MindFireXL and Brandon on Twitter at BJN Tweets.